Hello and welcome to our show Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Wick, and my co-host CLT. We are here to give you a breakdown of Week Two's action in the Midwest Sweat League Winter Split. I also would like to introduce two guests today, that being Koi no Yokan, aka Soup, and Smols from Team Dyslexic Defendars. Would you guys like to say anything about yourselves before we get started?
Hello, hello. Our team got shafted in the power rankings a couple weeks ago. They said we're at the bottom. We're number two or one. No way about it.
Yeah, we took that personally, so we came we came knocking.
Hey,
But
fair enough, guys. Fair enough.
sorry, I am also a little bit sick, so my apologies for the raspy throat.
No
Seems to be
worries.
going around.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll start with the first series here, and we're gonna actually gonna go from the bottom this time, just because these guys have a match coming up. So we're gonna go ahead and go with Cal Poly. No, I'm sorry, wrong week. Ugh. We're gonna go with TK Ventures versus Instinct CK. The game I actually just casted. So we'll start there. CLT, did you watch the stream at all?
I checked in at a few moments, like on the drive home. I was listening to a little bit of it, but I did not check out all of it. So I will defer to you on that.
Okay, okay. Well, game one, it definitely was a freaking banger game. I'll say that. TK Ventures, majority of the early game, they had themselves anywhere from 1 to about 3K gold lead. But there was a couple fights that just kind of broke out around the Drakes, where all of a sudden Instinct CK started to get advantages. It had a lot to do with Good Boy following up with a really beautiful ults on this Galio, to protect like his Tom Kench or his Wukong, and then Ash and Seraphine just finding pick after pick with their ultimates. But eventually the game did break fully after a Baron fight. Everybody like took some turrets, took an inhibitor on both sides of the map, and then we all decided to reset and we decided to duke it around, which I still can't figure out why this happened. Baron was gone. They had just already taken Baron, and they decided to fight around the Baron. And Instinct CK hadn't got their resets off, and we all kind of, if we watched it, at least saw what happened at that point. TK Ventures just ran him over. So that's kind of the breakdown of what happened in the game. I know Smols, you came in. I don't know if you came in during game one. Did you by chance?
I watched the very tail end of game one and all of game three. It was definitely one of those fights that kind of nothing happened and they fought for nothing, but then it looked okay when the Galio came down on all five, but there was just no damage from Insta Kick. It got cleaned up really fast by the benchers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember seeing that.
It was kind of insane. I'm sorry. By the way, I should mention this. Sorry, I don't have the game up for you guys yet. It's still uploading into YouTube, so I won't be able to show exactly what happened. But yeah, it was really just a strange situation. And like you said, I don't know why either team would want to fight that. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. There's no reason why Instinct would want to fight it. There is a reason why Tom Kench would, because they got the reset already. So it does have a reason for them to fight. And I think I can't remember. Did TK have the Baron? Do you remember, Smalls? When they
At the very end there,
Yeah, after they won the fight, they had the Baron, right?
TK, yeah, they just got it off a Baron reset.
Yeah,
And then yeah, they tried to fight in topside jungle, and it just didn't go well because they had their Fed Aatrox running people down,
yeah,
and then a Victor ult that expanded four times, and you just can't really do much into that.
yeah. I know. Tang's Victor was absolutely disgusting. This champion just has been taking over games. I'm curious, with these small changes here. What do you guys like? The two of you, Smalls and Soup. How do you guys feel about this new Victor?
The stacking is just so easy now. Getting 10 from cannon minions just makes it so you can get it much more consistently, much earlier on his evolves onto his abilities. So you get that first one so early, then you just smash waves down with your E, and it makes him really really strong. I think we've seen it in like if everyone's been watching like Last Ratonis, they've been prior picketing it and like a lot of priority towards it. And I think over the next coming weeks, and even in this league, it'll get some priority bans and picks away a lot because of how strong it is now.
Yeah, makes sense. Any opinion on it, Soup?
On the Victor,
Yeah.
Victor's just a really, I want to say disgusting champ right now because of the rework. But I feel like it's so much easier to play him now. It's a lot easier to get stacks and whatnot, especially with his ulti where it just like continues to evolve or get bigger with each takedown. Like, I feel like it wasn't just a like. I mean, I guess it was just a VGU update, but also like a whole set of like updated on the abilities too. I played against it. And we've also been playing with it too in our little practice games, and it's definitely OP. Honestly, in my opinion, I love seeing it, but I hate playing against it too.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I will ask UCLT. Then, how about your experience? You're the one of the mid laners here. So, do you have any feelings for the pick?
I mean, I always thought Victor was kind of frustrating to go against. I mean, he scales so well, but he actually lanes like really, really good too. But all these changes, like one of them mentioned, being able to scale up much quicker and much more consistent, I think makes him easier to pilot. Not that he was hard to begin with, but he can just scale so much like smoother and curve into the mid and the late game quite well. I also think that he's a product of the fact that no one really plays a lot of his counters. Like a lot of the aggressive assassin mids just don't show up and aren't consistent in competitive like flex or even like league play.
Yeah.
So stuff like Fizz and Zed. I mean, we do have a Zed player in the league, but for the most part, with so much coordination, it's easy to shut those down. And then the artillery mages are just so much harder to play, like Xerath and Vel'Koz, that he
Yeah.
loses to. So
Absolutely. Well, it's a good take on that. I'll go ahead and then jump into game two. Um, so I saw Warwick banned twice, by the way, guys. I want to point that out. I'm not really sure who plays the Warwick. Maybe it's someone on Instinct. Does Avo play that? Do you guys know? Because you guys were looking at
Mm,
them.
From what I saw,
I
no.
Okay, then
But Warwick did get a buff, which was hot fixed, nerfed, and I think it's still pretty good. His W.
okay,
So that's
interesting.
maybe a reasoning why they banned it. Just
Yeah,
'cause they maybe didn't want to play against it.
yeah. And I'm can't remember who actually did ban it. I could pull up the drafts real quick and double check. But yeah, it was just something I was really curious about. I'm like, two bans on Warwick. I'm like, okay, sure. So it was Instinct CK that banned it, and maybe TK Benchers plays it. Maybe After Pack is whipping it out, or because I know a lot of the TK Benchers likes to play, funny champions. But with that being said, yeah, game two, another game that was pretty similar in the way it went early. Like TK Ventures, again, they got off to a good start early, majority of the map. The Lux ended up getting ahead early on. Victor was doing really well in this Leona, and they were really shutting down Eclipse and Don Don. While the only really bad spot on the map for TK Ventures was this top lane. And we're definitely going to get into that a little bit here. But Arctic was just absolutely insane on this Ornn. Um, the amount of times he would like look at Leona, not Leona, I'm sorry, look at Fiora, and basically just like say like, I dare you to press that riposte button. Do it. Click W, and then bait it out perfectly was just insane. And every time he did it, it ended up in a kill. He had one where I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was under the turret, and he dropped his ulti, and instead of hitting it the second time, he let it pass, so he just baited it out and then just smacked her. I'm just like, dude, what the hell, man? Like, and that was coming off one where he bait.
Oh,
Yeah, do you know what I'm
I'm
talking
seeing it
about?
right now.
Yeah, yeah. And there was another one. He did the same thing. Baited out, I think, a W auto too. It was just like I didn't understand. Like he's like he had the W, he hit her with it, and so he had the passive proc, and he like I don't know what he was doing. If he was just auto canceling, or if he was like spamming Control 1 or something. Whatever he did, he just baited the W out that way too. And I'm just like, what is this guy's just cracked, man. um, But yeah, I mean that was the biggest thing. It was Arctic was just really taking care of Afterback early. But other than that, again, it was a lot of small advantages for TK Benchers. But as the game progressed, just slowly but surely, um, I mean, I don't know, somewhere near like the 15 to 18-minute mark, I can remember where they just kind of clawed their way back in from the small little 1.5, 2K gold lead and just boom, started taking off. Corgi started to scale. The Syndra was doing work. I think they got shut down on Tang at some point. Tang Silas. And Good Boy is really, really good on the Syndra, I should point out. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the solo laners were the star of the show in this game for the side of Instinct CK. So
Oh, definitely. Hang did get pretty fed on Silas, but it just didn't really amount to anything because he was running into an Amumu or an Braum, and the Corki and Syndra were sitting so far back they couldn't get to them, so they couldn't get through their meat tanks and didn't have the damage to kill those and couldn't get to the backline with their comp.
yeah, I know they just couldn't touch him. It was really, really crazy. Um, CLT, did you catch any of this game? I know you didn't catch much of game one. See any game two?
I caught a little bit of game two. I quickly learned after watching game two, don't give Arctic Orin.
Yeah.
Like he just absolutely ran that lane over and snowballed it from there. And I also thought the Unending Despair is like absolutely a sick item into the TK comp. Like 4 melees. Okay. Good
Yeah,
luck.
for real. I think as far as these drafts go, Instinct drafted so well game two. I think every one of their responses was good, um, and they looked cleaner on the map than TK Benchers, which was something I was not expecting, considering TK got a lot of returning members that won last split. So I was very impressed from them here in game two. Was there anybody who had another take on this one? Anything that stood out to them besides the Orn?
Luck spot again.
Luck spot again. Yeah, but it didn't look very strong here. I don't know if it was just because the comp that was drafted by CK, or if this like maybe the play of the Lux itself. I'm just not really sure, but it did not look very good. Like it had one moment in the early game, like I said, that 2v2, and then I don't know, it just disappeared. So
Yeah, I felt like there's so much beef on Instinct that Lux can't get through it, especially if you go pen second.
yeah, and the Braum E was absolutely disgusting for blocking like the E and the Q and even the W actually. So she can't shield her teammates if Braum is nearby.
Yeah, I think
Also,
that's the big thing is it's a good pick, but into their comp it's terrible because you're either hitting a Mumu Orin or you're hitting a Braum with his shield up realistically. Like that's all you're hitting. Unless you find some sort of like angle to get onto the Corki or the Syndra, but Corki's just gonna W away and the Syndra is hard to hit because she'll stay super far back.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they also didn't draft like from what I've seen, like game two, they didn't draft an ADC either. It was just like they just played pick burst, and again with this Corky who just scales really hard into the mid game, and Syndra as well too with their shards. Like I felt like it was just difficult for them to get back into the game.
Yeah, they had everything they needed to win the game on Instinct side and just get to that like 25 to 30-minute mark, and then they can pretty much just start taking over the game. So, but let's go ahead and let's jump into game three here. Let's finish off this series with another really, really fun game. This one had the Bard steal, which was nice. I totally missed that first on the Baron. Kind of ridiculous. Um, but again, like we're giving these players kind of what they want, right? The Ornn just had a phenomenal game. Give him Ornn again. Quirky Eclipse played pretty well, giving him that again, and then Good Boy, giving him Syndra. It just feels like the three stars of the show, and kind of all three games for them got exactly what they wanted. I guess Arctic did kind of struggle in game one, but yeah, they kind of got what they wanted, and then they were able to just pop off from there. Um, I don't really recall too many key moments where it was like, oh, this broke the game per se, but once they started getting to their scaling again, like there's just no way to stop them. Tang did pick Smolder to try to counter the scale, but I don't really think Smolder's scale is as strong as Corki, if you ask me. Everyone's gonna say no, that's not true because of the stacks. Nah, man. Like Smolder feels more like a mid-game champion now to me. I don't know what your guys' take on that is, but he just feels like he gets the stacks. His mid-game's really good, and then if he goes into the late game against a hyperscaler, he just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Smolder's also really hard into Syndra. Plus, another thing I noticed watching this game, at one point it was 27 minutes in, and all that the Smolder he didn't have two full items. He had Hubris, Last Whisper, and a Zeal, and the Syndra had two full items and two rods. And it's like you're not going to do anything damage wise with those items at this point. Like once he reset, he got a full LDR, but still, like he's sitting around at so little gold actually in his inventory and so few finished. Like he only has one finished item, and it's a hubris with no stacks, so it was really tough for him. I feel like.
Yeah, and he got his stacks I think at like 28, 29 minutes. I mean, it's right before the Baron or the Drake, whenever the like one of the last big fights were over. So yeah, it was kind of it was definitely a game he struggled in, and I think the Syndra was uh pivotal in that. I gotta see where did they pick the Smolders. They picked Smolder B4, and Syndra was the counter pick at R5. So I don't know if they knew, like, well, they already knew, actually, I should say, because they played against it it's game two, but I don't know if they just didn't think Good Boy would pull it out again or what. But if you're saying it's good into, Syndra's good into that, I would feel like you'd probably want to ban the Syndra, right? Just get it out of there.
Oh, it's a super hard matchup because you don't win in lane, and then mid game you get hit by one Syndra stun, you're dead. That's that's just what it is.
Yeah, and Good Boy didn't miss those Syndra stuns. I mean, he was landing them, like, on repeat. I mean, at the end of the game, it was a three-man. It was absolutely disgusting under their, not, no, it was around tier 3 top and tier 3 mid where he had ended it. It was just so gross, man. But how do we feel about seeing the first Barda split? Any opinions on that?
I love Bard. Like it's really good rotations, to be honest. Like especially with the objectives coming up. Like he gets to go on his little adventure, but not only that, like just secure grubbies and drags or like gank another lane if they need to. But it also puts their ADC at in a weak spot. But it's also just the ADC's job to like, okay, my Bard's going on an adventure. I'm gonna play weak side for a little bit and until they come back. So I love seeing Bard.
Well, luckily, as far as that weak side goes, they pick Seraphine bot, so it's pretty safe for the Seraphine to just chill and
Yeah.
farm waves on repeat. They did again. I know that Don Don died early on in that lane, so the bot lane of TK Ventures was playing well throughout the entire like early. I don't know. Let's call it like 6 to 8 minutes, that kind of range, before Eclipse and Don Don really get to start doing anything on the map that was meaningful. But that's the thing. It's a team game, and there's other lanes, and again, Arctic being able to shut down this Gwen, which is just another split pushing champion here, like the Fiora of the previous game, which is absolutely massive. Especially when I know that Gwen should beat Ornn at, I thought it was like one item, if I remember correctly. So the fact that Ornn kept winning the fights was just like a testament to how good this guy is on Ornn.
Yeah, even with the Gwen too, like Gwen should be able to beat Ornn as well too, I feel like.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, she definitely does. Like I said, I think it's one item, maybe it's two items. Gwen outscales him, but I don't know. It was very strange to see it happen over and over and over again. And Afterpack is a very good top laner. So hats off to Arctic, man. He played one hell of a game 2 and 3 to redeem his game 1 performance where he was just getting absolutely shat on by an Aatrox. That was a rough lane for him. So, but other than that, I mean, was there anything else you guys wanted to say, or do you guys want to move on to the next series?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good with me. Let's go ahead and get on to the next one, which is, of course, going to be Team Ghost versus Cal Poly Division 2. So, I have not got yet to see this one, unfortunately. I forgot who casted. Was this Arpies casted this one, or was this one you, CLT?
I think I grabbed this one, yeah.
Okay. Well, then you want to lead us off then?
Yeah. Team Ghost Cal Poly. I thought it was a really really good test to both teams to see where they're at early in the season. And Team Ghost played insanely well, especially in the mid game. But Cal Poly's bot lane, I gotta give them a shout out. I mean, they got first blood this game on the Jinx and started putting the pressure on them early. But the top lane specifically, Havoc on this Olaf just started popping off, and you just could not stop him. And then this mid game, Geico just started blowing people up with this resurgence of an AP Varus. So, but couple nice highlights from Cal Poly. I mean, their coordination is still really solid, especially their mid laner. He's only played Nico this whole split and looks very proficient on the pick. Like turns around team fights with 3-4 man ults and whatnot and stuff like that. But yeah, this Team Ghost, they're looking very very scary going into the rest of the split.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the cool thing to see is just Varus AP. I mean, it's always fun to see some stupid crap like that. It's just so dumb. And then Cho'Gath top, we haven't seen that in a long time. I don't feel like anybody plays it. I guess this guy does though. How do we feel about Cho'Gath top, guys? What are they feeling at?
I feel like into Cassante, it's super good because Cassante ults loses a bunch of HP and then you just nom nom and it's good. But otherwise, I think Boss has just popularized it too much. I don't know if it's actually that great, but yeah, that's my opinion pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, into Olaf, I can't see it being that great. Um, just because the nature of what Olaf likes to do. Olaf here
For sure.
also was a pretty good pick too. It was into three melee champions, so it was a pretty smart pick by
Yeah, if I
Havoc.
remember correctly, the Olaf was a R5, so it was definitely a really really solid pick out of Ghost.
Yeah, another thing I'm noticing, and I played it too, and I kind of mentioned it in week one, but it seems to be the trend. Vi is just really struggling a lot, and we see them pick up Vi here. I don't really see the Vi angle, if you ask me, um, because, and I'll mention this when we get to my own series, but Vi is just really good into specific AD carries. Not that she's not good into an AD carry that can't move. It's not that. It's just the reason why you would pick her is to lock a certain AD carry down that's got a lot of mobility, like a Zeri or an Ezreal, right? And then she doesn't really die to like Ezreal, and she can just kill Ezreal. Like what's he gonna do? You know, she just where Zeri kind of same thing. Like she can kill her, but realistically, it's not gonna be quick enough most of the time. Uh, but I feel like in these situations where it's like Varus, if he's AP, man, just gonna flash away, drop his ulti on your face, and then what are you gonna do with the whole team around you that's gonna CC you as well? So it just feels like a weird pick to that I'm seeing just too much of. But I mean, I'll take your guys' take on it, especially your soup, because I know you're transitioning back into playing jungle for your team. So
Hmm.
how do you
Yeah,
think?
just based off from what I saw on the draft here, like Vi into a Nautilus and to a Namumu, like there's like if Vi just goes in, then she has no way out because she just gets locked down from either one of those two. But like I completely agree with you, like for an Ezreal or like a Zeri or anything like that, um, definitely works with Vi, but with those two champs that just have lockdown potential, like it's kind of just hard play Vi with.
I feel like Vi's just the Timu version of a Nocturne. Like Nocturne just does everything kind of better.
Yeah, and it's pretty similar. You know, you could look at it like, well, Vi has actual like legitimate CC with her ult, whereas Nocturne has to get on you and hope that his E can get off in time. But generally speaking, it's fine. Like he's gonna get it off. If he's on your face and you don't have flash, you're not necessarily dead, but you're probably dead. So with Vi, it's like again, like the ulti is really nice, but she could also be debated in team fights with that all right. You could just flash further back or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're on top of five members just dying. So it's very interesting, but not something I'm really liking right now. And wouldn't be surprised if she starts to kind of lose favor with the league. But I will go ahead and I'll get us over to game two. I'm trying to get you guys to your series here. So game two here, man, it looks like Havoc had himself another very fun game here. 13-2-8 on this Renekton, huh? So
Yeah.
what kind of happened here, CLT?
Just like you said, this was the Havoc show from the get-go. So I think his bot lane, Geico and Ocean got first blooded again from the bot lane of Division 2 from Cal Poly, but then Mr. Scuttle Crab and Havoc just put the pressure onto this Aatrox. And Gyarados came up a few times, but it was just too much. Havoc had a couple of like double kills and TPs into team fights in the mid game where he pushed the whole team back while people were just knocking down this Wukong when he would dive into the back line. So, but I really like this build from Geico here. I mean, seeing that he's potentially going to get womboed in, he bought the Seraphs that I think saved him a few times, and it wouldn't surprise me if that last item would have started to go over to Zanya's as well. So, yeah, that's Havoc completely controlled this whole series and played extremely well.
Mm, indeed, I just watched a really nice clip actually. OG Slobby Poppy flashing in topside to get a shutdown onto Havoc actually was pretty disgusting, but it did take three to kill him. Just at that point, I mean, he was 2-0, sure, but we were only 11 minutes into the game, and they're already struggling to deal with him.
He had one fight that he turned around where he queued two members, and then it was right when Wukong put out the clone. So he actually got like an empowered queue off to four people, if you count the clone, and healed like back to half or like 60% health, and just started to run everybody over again. It was actually disgusting on the timing and how that worked out.
Yeah, that sounds like it. I mean, the play that I just saw where he died, he hit three people with this Q, and he healed back to 85, 80% HP. So, um, yeah, Renekton in a situation where a player knows how to play the game really well is just very, very strong because he's a simple to execute champion. There's not a lot you have to do. I mean, there are some small cancels, auto cancels with the I think like his W. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I dash in, I smack you, you either die or I dash out, and that's my trade. Like, just depends on if I'm laning or if I'm all laning or if I'm in team fighting. That's about it. So, and maybe
Yeah,
I'll.
even in the last major fight of this fight or of this game, Renekton just gets on top of the Jinx. The Jinx is fed, but she just gets one shot by Renekton, stun, Q, and then dead into a Baron, and then there's nothing really left for Cal Poly to do once the Baron got taken.
Yeah. I would also like to note that the Nocturne is picked here with the Galio. So normally you would take Nocturne to try to make Galio's life really hard. So I don't know if that was something that Team Ghost planned for and just said, screw it, we're gonna play the Nocturne just because we don't want to stop the Galio from playing the game. Maybe you can comment on that, CLT, as uh, you know, saw the draft and how it went.
Uh, I mean, there's definitely some opportunities to set up the Galio with Nocturne, but I also think because Nico's diving in, Wukong's diving in, that I think the Galio can also be used as like a protection and kind of a counter engage if they do dive on, let's say, Geico or Havoc. So I think with the way Teams Ghosts lanes are set up, when you have someone or two carries as talented as Havoc up top and Geico down at the bot lane, having a roaming mid laner that doesn't really care if he loses much resources like a Galio makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I see. Geico certainly was struggling in game two here. Was 0-3-3, getting punished a lot. But he's playing a hard scaling champion. He was going. It looks like AP build. Did he finish? Like, did he head towards that, or was that actually just on hit?
I think he went Nashor's Tooth
Let me see what he did.
into Ginsu's and then built Seraphs.
Yep.
And I think after that during that last fight, he had Rune and sub for it. Yeah, Geico in the mid game was was actually like it was a testament to Cal Poly's like bot lane. I think they played this series really, really well. It was impressive, as everybody knows how talented Geico is as an AD carry. I know he's played with a couple different supports through the last couple splits, but Geico himself is just insane on positioning, DPS, everything you want out of an AD carry. And this Cal Poly bot lane played really, really well into that. They did not back down from this challenge.
Yeah, you'd love to see it for sure. I don't know if you guys. I know you guys just played against Havoc. Have either of you guys have ever had the experience of playing against Geico in the league?
Yes. Yes.
What's your experience like against him?
He he's really good. Like he really knows how to space himself in team fights. Um, like he'll. I feel like from like if I remember correctly, like from the games I've gone against him, he'll like won't do anything the first few minutes, like the first 10, 15 minutes. Once laning phase is over and like a couple turrets are down, that's like when he comes online. And it's like, oh, okay. Like you've been farming all game and you have this damage out of nowhere. Cool. That's I should have just ganked you and put you behind. But like even if he does get behind, he just finds a way to just come back into the game and just get online.
Yeah, he's really good at just doing his DPS. I don't know what your guys' opinions of AD carries, but I like the AD carry that's not afraid of dying, just does their DPS in team fights. Obviously, you're not looking to int. It's not what I'm saying. It's just like, okay, I'm probably not going to live here. Let me just keep putting out as much as I can. And he kind of reminds me of that. Like, he knows that sometimes he's not going to live. And he's just like, let me just keep doing the damage, kite as much as I can. Uh, and eventually, I might die, but if I leave him really low for my team, they can clean up the team fight. And so I really appreciate AD carry play like that. It's aggressive, and it's also calculated, and they have a good understanding of like what they have to do in certain situations. Because everybody always says, "Oh, the AD carry, they're so important, they're everything to a team." But they're just the damage, right? That's their job, that's their role. They're the damage.
Yeah.
They're really not everything on a team. There's times where you want to kill the Renekton first, for example, because really he's the carry, but he's a carry in a different way. He's impacting this game, or the Nocturne is just setting stuff up, right? So it's always just a definitely different way to look at the game. But yeah, he's definitely really really phenomenal player. So, but yeah, so Ghost 2-0. So good on them. We're not really surprised by the outcome, I would say. But Cal Poly did put up a fight, so looking forward to see what else they can put out here during the splits. But let's get into what will probably be your guys' last series before y'all gotta go, and that's your own series. So T1 Tempest versus Dyslexic Defenders, and I'll do it like this. I'll let Soup talk about game one, and Smols you can talk about game two. How does that sound?
Works for me.
All right, Soup, take us
Uh,
away. Tell me a little bit about what happened here in this game one.
let's see. Let me pull this up.
Doesn't even remember his own game.
Uh,
I don't know why I closed YouTube. Tweaking.
I remember telling the guys like, hey, I really want to play Skarner. I've been playing a lot of him more recently, and I just want to like just play it out. Um, and I think we had Skarner first, or was it? No, it was Victor. I think we had first,
Yeah, it was
and we're
Victor
like,
first pick and Skarner on B3.
yeah. But overall, like we decided that Skarner was gonna be first pick, but then you know what? Let's just get Victor and let's play it out. But I felt really comfortable with Skarner so far, and I've just like, um, just taking objectives as well too, and like Isaac just put it in simple words. I was at the right place at the right time when it came to ganks and objectives as well too.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
think
I think
you played a really good series. For that matter, I will say for sure. Go ahead, Smalls.
yeah, he asked me how it went, or I asked him how it went, and it was like you played really well, and like, you didn't necessarily camp any lanes, but like he was almost always in the right place at the right time, which is huge because he either was like in the right spot for the Gromp or for the Grubs or in the Dragon, or he was in the right spot for counter ganks, and he just got a lot done on that Skarner pick in that game. Both games, really.
Yeah, no, I definitely like it. I think the big one for me too is I know you said Cirilla was your guys' sub, right? Official
Yeah,
sub,
so
and he
uh
was insane on that Jinx.
yeah, it's surprising they didn't ban it in game 2, to be honest. When I was watching it back, we obviously needed a couple subs, so having him as AD was a bit of a last second thing because our top laner wasn't able to get on at the last minute. So switched our ADC up top lane and put Australia down in the bot lane, and he carried us on the Jinx.
Yeah, maybe needs a starting role or what?
Oh, I don't know about that.
The only other thing for me watching the game that was really kind of crazy was watching Yushi versus Lionel Johnson. Lionel Johnson is a guy who used to be on Scorch, really, really good. If we aren't all aware, we should be by now watching him play. But Snuma was going head to head with him, and it was fun. It was crazy back and forth. Every time they were go at it, I was never for sure who was going to win the fight here. But yeah, a couple times Snuma edged him out and just outplayed him.
Yeah, Snuma he's an ADC player, but he's kind of a mechanical god, to be honest. Um, he's really good at mechanical play, so he definitely is down he'll scrap, and he'll, even if he's behind or he's been weak siding, he'll scrap and try to win it out. And honestly, like you said, he got the better end of the stick a couple times.
Yeah, CLT, did you catch any of this game by chance?
I did not.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. How do you feel about Tom Kent's support right now, CLT? Because we did see it actually twice in the series.
I think if you can pull it off, it's not terrible. I think in these spots, especially with like single target engagers, like Vi, for instance, uh, Tom Kinch makes quite a bit of sense there. You can also Tom Kinch whoever gets Ashe ulted. So if you can track your cooldowns and make sure you have the ult up and use it the right way, I think there's some really quality skill expression from Tom Kinch support that can be very useful.
Yeah, it seems like again this fight. Like why we keep picking it? I have to ask myself the same question. My team debated me, but yeah, I'm just kidding. They didn't debate me. We did talk about it as an option, but it's certain you want to pick it at certain points in the draft. Like you want to see certain things before you certainly pick it. And I don't see it here again. Like I think the Tom Kench is a really good answer. I don't know if Tom Kench. I can't remember if Tom Kench was picked um, later on in the draft compared to the Vi pick, but it worked out perfectly because every time Vi would try to ult somebody, especially the Shinx, well, here's Tom Kench to eat you. Um, and for Rosh, I mean, I know he plays a lot of different supports. He likes to be spicy with it, so I'm not surprised he's the one pulling it out and performing pretty well on it. Also, why is there a Teemo ban? Could somebody tell me that one?
I
Are you?
believe the Teemo ban is because we were using an emergency sub. We just wanted to speed the draft up because we lost a ban, so we just banned Teemo
Oh my!
instead of banning nothing.
That's crazy.
Mm.
Okay, so technically Teemo is not an actual ban then. So you guys throwing me
No.
off. I'm gonna take Teemo off the list on my stats because I forgot you guys lost a ban. That's good to know. That's good to know. Teemo has not really been banned. I think he's been banned in the series, but just not your guys' series. So then officially, let's go into game two though. Let's talk about what happened here in game two, Smalls, from your viewership since you watched.
Yeah, so it's definitely they adapted a bit and banned the Victor, but they left the Jinx up. And from what I saw, the Jinx just uh, ran away with it. They played a lot around topside, and Tsunomayushi on the Maokai just didn't care. Absorbed all the pressure. He died a couple times, but he also 1v1'd and solo boloed the Olaf back. And in the mid to late game, you couldn't kill the Maokai. And I feel like while the other team's comp, the T1 Tempest comp was good, they couldn't fight through our front line. There was a Maokai, a TK, and a Wukong running at you. And if you somehow did get on Jinx, TK just ate her and ran away. And Aurora is too slippery to catch, so I feel like. And then again, Soup just ran around them in circles with objectives and was always at the right spot to counteract things. our Jinx got ahead, and we just didn't look back from my perspective.
Yeah, I again, and that was the thing that was crazy about the series. You guys basically didn't miss an objective. There would have been one or two here or there, but it was that was the most absurd thing to me. And there was times that T1 Tempest could have taken objectives. It's just they just let you have some, for sure. Like if you watch it back, like they're just like, yeah, we don't need it. Like we'll just go do something else. While you're killing grubs or something, they're just ignoring Drake. Or they try to do an objective and then somebody's getting caught out mid and it throws off the objective. But it's just like it was crazy to me. The other thing to note, I think the Wukong pick is really good here, Soup. It's really good to Skarner, and Skarner doesn't have a lot of like matchups where it's like, this really sucks. But that's one of them because you
Mhm.
shred him extremely well with the natural pen in your kit and stuff. And you're obviously 90% of the time going to build a Black Cleaver too. I don't know if when you were going to build it here, but I'm sure eventually you would have probably gotten one if the game progressed. Because that's a very, very strong item on Wukong. And they had three, melee champions for you to shred,
Mhm.
two tanks and a bruiser. So yeah, I mean that was something I really, really enjoyed. Uh, Something I'm really confused by them is also picking Mouse here. Like Mouse has certainly won right in the league so far, but I don't I don't see the angle for Mouse in this game. All I could come up with was maybe Mouse will ult the Tom Kench when he eats the Jinx, or maybe they ult the Tom Kench so he can't eat the Jinx. That's all I could come up with. Otherwise, I just don't see it fitting in with what T1 Tempest wants to do. So, what was your take beyond that, CLT?
I when you guys were talking and I was looking at the stats, yeah, the Mal's kind of stood out. I'm not sure if it's a comfort pick or like his air quotes like answer to Aurora, because in the 2v2, yeah, you can ult Aurora. At least you could before. I think her range is a little longer now. But overall, like you don't Mouse just doesn't function that well into like those type of tanky team comps. And yeah, with the Tom Kench, I mean, we talked about Kench being picked in such a good spot in game one that he Kench was picked blue side two, and then they rotated Skarner, Malzahar, R3, R4. It's like you're just making Kench's job and value increased. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I'm not sure on the Malzahar pick. I think just about anything else would have worked pretty good there.
I agree. Malzar just seems like in a weird spot to me. But yeah, so was there any other feelings about your guys' series here from either of you?
Oh, I think that's pretty much it. I think both of us have to go pretty quick here to get to our series tonight.
Yeah, yep. And with that being said, good luck in your guys' series. We'll certainly we won't get to watch it live. Unfortunately, we'll be still doing the show, but maybe we'll be able to catch one of the games, especially if it goes to three. I know you guys don't want that, but you never know what's gonna happen, right? So yeah, I'll let you guys get out of here then. So and we'll continue the show, and maybe we'll get you guys on again to do like another smaller segment like this. You can get a little more time on the show than just um, three series. But we do
Yeah.
appreciate you both coming on for a little bit here and joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Have a great night, guys.
You too, guys. Good luck.
Yeah. Go Bears.
My goodness. All right, CLT. Well, now it's just me and you together again, as it should be, or shouldn't be. So, how about we continue going backwards then? We'll pick up with Backdoor Bandits and Ice Wall.
Yeah, let me transition over to that series real quick.
So, was the Teemo ban here legit? Like, like I don't even know, man. Cause
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I'd love to know. Who casted this? It was Pugsley, right?
Yes, I believe this was Pugsley's series.
Yes. So I can pull that up actually, or
We see
no,
another Shogath coming up.
I can do it this way. I will pull up the clip. I haven't seen this series. I don't know as much about this one. Um, I can only really look at kind of what happened. I can tell you the He posted it in the chat to watch back, and it's on his YouTube. So for anybody that maybe didn't catch this series, it's in the Rec League chat to watch. Hopefully we'll be able to get it up. He said he's should be sending it over to us. But here you go. Let me see. Was it an actual Teemo ban? Yeah, I mean, it looks like Backdoor Ban is legit ban Teemo. So it was a real ban, guys. So maybe that's the only actual Teemo ban. But all right, let's kind of talk about it. Let's see what stands out to you here, CLT.
This draft is very interesting. Like, we see another Cho'Gath come out here, which, I mean, I think he's in a decent position. I think Cho'Gath against like hyperscaling enchanters like Jinx can kite him out pretty easily. But the Ice Wall mid laner picking Hank Malphite mid into the mid Garen, I thought was quite interesting. I don't 100% know how that matchup goes, but I think as far as value, looking at the Backdoor Bandits comp, you have four AD there, and not the highest damaging ADs outside of Garen ult, so I think it had pretty respectable value there. It's an interesting pick.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not the best into the Rumble, but it certainly can play the game. Otherwise, I mean, their comp Malphite mid. I mean, that's pretty cool. I'd like to see some spicy stuff like that. We've been seeing some Nautilus mid, so let's get some Malphite mid in there as well. Um, but the Garen pick into that, I wonder if that was like I can look back at the draft, but I wonder if that was a response to seeing both Cho'Gath and Malphite. Let's see. Garen was picked by Backdoor Bandits as a B5 pick, so they did see the Malphite. So I wonder if they were just assuming there was Malphite mid. I have no idea if Malphite is bad into Garen, though. Do you have any ideas?
Um, I'm not 100% sure on that matchup. I know as a tank Malf mid player myself, I'm not too overly scared of the matchup, but I also feel like Garen just pushes you in and can roam and respond to 2v2s. And when you have tank solo laners, this Viego's not going to be able to do much around the map. If he ever tries to fight Rek'Sai, he's just going to get jumped on by Garen, Rumble, even Rumble ult from long distance. So I felt like they just put a lot of beef in front of the Kog'Maw Lulu lane and just told their bot lane, hey, please carry this game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they were not able to carry. They weren't able to get to the point where the Cog and Lulu become pretty much unstoppable. But on the other side, they did have a nice scale as well. I mean, you had Jinx Milio, so they kind of countered the scaling nicely. Um, it seems like Backdoor Bandits set themselves up for a proper mid game, and then if the mid game did somehow fall out of favor, they had the late game insurance. Um, but the combo certainly would have been scary if we got to that 30 plus minute mark. I think this game ended relatively quick. It was 21 minutes. So, one of the fastest games we've ever had in the league by far. And just a very dominating fashion here by Backdoor Bandits, which at this point I'm not too surprised by them playing as well as they have either. But with that said, I will lead us in here into game two. And kind of a similar draft coming out of Backdoor Bandits here. We swapped a few things out. We've got the Jason Ziggs now, as well as the Nami, instead of the Jinx, Garen, and Milio. So they have kind of that scaling again. Ziggs is gonna do. He's not gonna scale as hard as like the Jinx or like a Kog'Maw if they're in the game, but in terms of into A to carries, he like in the lane specifically, so strong into them, and he's gonna give you that like mid late game power as well. It's just more based on uh the poke damage. It's not as consistent as of DPS. It's poke burst, right? So if they're able to get somebody caught out, it's just Ziggs layered up, they're gone. So whereas Ice Wall, we're seeing Heimerdinger, which I think that's the first Heimerdinger of the split CLT, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. That went top, and then we did end up with Seraphine Senna bot lane. So I would definitely say, as far as Ice Wall scaling, it's really, really strong. They will definitely outscale Backdoor Bandits. I think it's similar to game one, but this was a 24-minute game, so again, they weren't able to get there. The mid game was highly favored for Backdoor Bandits, so I'm not really too sure exactly what happened. I mean, I'm kind of showing some of the stuff here for you guys, but I'm not really surprised by Backdoor Bandits being able to dominate, as they did look very, very good last week in Deload the Cannons.
Yeah, this Ice Wall comp is interesting, to say the least.
What's standing out to you, CLT?
I don't, I don't know if you still have the draft up or was looking at it. Like, where was this Heimerdinger picked?
Oh, okay, I can go back. Heimerdinger was picked. Oh, I gotta go really far back for this, huh? He was picked B4.
B4.
So they
So
had
there's art.
they had Seraphine, J4, and Senna already picked. And then
So either Ziggs or Jace was showing, right? Or were both of them showing?
both of them were showing. Ziggs was picked
Oh,
R1 and Jace R3.
well, that is interesting because I think like Backdoor Bandits team comp was Ziggs, Jace. They siege really well, and Heimerdinger absolutely hates team comps that can siege and poke because he can never keep a turret up. They just throw abilities at him and knock him down in the siege. And then I think this Orin he gets tanky enough. I mean, he's got 2 MR items plus Jack Show. He doesn't really give two flying shits about this Heimerdinger. So it's quite interesting. I see Heimerdinger did the most damage, which he's naturally going to stack up damage numbers because when you dive into him, you're getting blasted by turrets and abilities. But I don't. I, you're already showing an engage comp in the sense of like Jarvan layered with Galio and then Seraphine in the back. So I'm not sure if there would have been something else top lane that you could have played that's definitely more engagey. I'm thinking, I mean, while it's not the greatest hard engage, but like Scion or something that can throw the shield up when he sees the poke come in and build war mogs and be able to create a lot better quality space for these carries.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that doesn't really fit the comp, like you said. It
Yeah.
just sticks out. Like, why are we picking it here? But I mean, maybe he's a proficient Heimerdinger player, and it was something that was a comfort pick. Um, but yeah, I mean, or maybe he thought it was Jace. I mean, maybe he thought it was Jace top, and I don't know if it's good into Jace top, but I could see it being okay. I mean, Jace has that kind of the poke to break the turrets, but it's not up 24/7, and the turrets do get tankier. So if you're forcing Jace to use EQ Shock Blast on turrets, I mean, I think that's honestly fine if you're a Heimerdinger there. Um, so maybe that's why it was picked top. I'm really not sure. I'm just kind of guessing on the idea there. But yeah, I mean, the gold lead was at 12 minutes already 7K. So um, it was pretty hard for them to really stay in this game. I do remember though Heimerdinger, honestly, as much as we kind of saying stuff we were saying about the pick, having some moments of just like kind of popping off, honestly. Like he definitely did some work in the game. And it shows on the damage charts as well. So it wasn't the worst, but I think you're looking to scale, and you probably were looking for either some disengage or some more engage, or even a split pusher. Even a true split pusher, not Heimerdinger, right? Um, would have been good there. So
Yeah, I think something that could like dive in with not the hardest engage, like he can index into that, like Jax or something. He can threaten the split push, and he can also be bruisery enough that he can dive in and make some plays against Jace Ziggs, but though they have a Nami on the backside of it, so I don't know. I think Backdoor Bandits honestly drafted a really good comp if they can pilot it, which looks like in this game they piloted it pretty well. I mean, Jason Ziggs are topping the damage charts quite heavily, so
Yeah, no, definitely. That is a really just a good draft in general.
hmm
So,
agreed.
um, and let's
Is
see.
that our first? Is that our first Jason split?
I believe it was too. Yeah, when I went through everything, I'm pretty sure it was. So, but now let's get into what I think so far. I mean, there's been some great series. The one I just casted was really really great, but I think this one that I casted might be the best series of the split so far, which was the peanut butter jelly and the sad jellyfish series.
I remember parts of the series. Yeah, this actually happened a while ago. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the first
Oh,
series
this is the
played for week
wrong
2.
one. Wrong one, guys. Yeah, no. Was it the first? It might have been the first. It was either your series or their series. Nonetheless, it was one of
Yeah.
the first. So it was one or two. Um, but yeah, it was a banger series and something that like I definitely wanted to talk about the day we were doing Midwest Weekly, but you just couldn't because, um, the series had already transpired, but we needed to go over the week one, not the week two games. So yeah, it definitely kind of sucked that we didn't get that time when it was like really fresh in my head. Uh, but yeah, I mean, big things for me when I was watching that was Darkhound. Man, Darkhound was unbelievable in this series, and when he got that Odeer, he was an absolute menace on it. Something that was like it fits so well with what Peanut Butter and Jelly wanted to do in the game, where he would just run at the back line, be a nuisance, not die, and then just let the Aurora and the Corky do their DPS to anybody else that was sitting in front. And they were not a very tanky team on Sad Jellyfish. The tankiest member was probably honestly maybe J4, because like Mark, you didn't really have tank items by the time that game ended. He had just straight support. You're talking a Locket and a um, what is that? Knight's Vow. I mean, she has some natural tankiness with W, but yeah, I mean they were not a tanky comp. So Aurora and Corky would just shred the front line, while Darkhound would just distract them. Um, but yeah, that was like the big thing for me. Uh, how impressed were you by the play here of peanut butter and jelly?
This uh this was impressive by them. Not that I thought they were going to get stomped or anything coming into the series, but Sad Jellyfish being down 0-1, they lost the first week against you guys. I was expecting them to kind of throw the gloves off and start swinging, and they did, but PB&J swung back. Darkhound on this Udyr made it look so impressive. It felt like he could just always get access to the back line, even through Leona, and never got caught by like a Jarvan ult to stop him. And he was just always running down Shanti on this Caitlyn. It was a very impressive game won by PB&J. So Darkhound is, I think, a very very underrated jungler in this group. Haven't had a chance to scrim against PB&J. Dude, that dude's everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even with that being said, I mean, you look at that game one, there was still some really nice movement by Set Jellyfish like usual. They had a gold lead, I think, majority of this game, at least when it came to like the first like 15 to 20 minutes. Um, so like Set Jellyfish was not like off their game. Um,
No, no, not at all.
but PB and J just were finding ways to fight back consistently, and they did not look. And again, you've already noted this from week one, but it's even more prevalent here in week two. These new teams in the league, they are not afraid to just battle. They're not afraid to fight. If I say something on a show or you say something on the whatever we're doing, cast even, they're like, we don't care. Oh, this team's been around. Oh, this team won finals. Or this team did this. It doesn't matter what this team did. It matters what they're gonna do now and what we're gonna do now. And that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from these new teams. They feel not afraid to just take fights and make plays, man. And it's been fun to watch. And PB&J is one of those teams now that is really impressed. We can talk about the kind of like the towards the ending. I can't remember. I'm gonna check the time here. So 30 minutes. So it's around here. Um, I know there was a big Baron fight, and I think I'm about to show it. And that was kind of the game breaking moment. Because after this, Sad Jellyfish just kind of tried to attempt a bit of a flank, a desperation play, and it just was a really nice peeling for this Corky. Jello put himself in a lot of a lot of funny spots in this series, including this game, but they made sure to keep him alive and keep him safe. Uh, and because of that, they were able to win this fight at Baron. I'm trying to see. I can't remember exactly what happened. It's been a couple days, so I'm trying to see here. I don't know if you have anything clipped or can remember yourself. Okay, yeah, here it is. So it was the fight around Blue Buff. They try to take a fight. It's onto Adir and Rukan. Rukan gets instantly popped, but Darkhound takes literally no damage, and then Jax comes in with this a crazy, crazy engage with an E. Dippy tries to turn it, but the Slicey Maelstrom just doesn't do enough damage. He finally gets shut down, and then that's kind of when the game broke, and pretty much after that ended. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal play by the Jax and Game Prey and Darkhound there.
Yeah, it was. I've always credited that jellyfish. It's like when they even look like they're losing a fight, they punch back, and peanut butter and jelly just kept throwing haymakers with sad jellyfish on this game one. I know Dippy had like a lot of really good like cannon flanks and ults into the back line, and PB&J didn't like try to kite back or run at him. It was just, we're gonna weather the storm and fight. So it was impressive.
Yeah, go hand in hand, and they almost they almost pulled off the series. We'll get that tomorrow as we go to game 2 and 3. But yeah, I mean, game one here, going over to peanut butter and jelly was really fun and exciting to see. Very competitive game, and again, the goal was literally even here, 52K to 51K at the end, before PB&J ended up winning. So let's go ahead and jump into game two here, which we had Sad Jellyfish pulling off this victory. And this game, again, kind of feels similar to game one, I would say, in some aspects. Those being Sad Jellyfish kind of starting off kind of good early, and then PB&J fighting back. The only difference, though, is this game ended up going 46 minutes. I can't remember exactly what happened, how the game ended. I know it was something where I was like really thrown by the situation. But a big takeaway was Jello on this Ezreal. He was really good on this Ezreal, but he just loved to eat into people and die, or at least put himself in a very precarious position and being forced to flash away with like 20% HP and then be out of the fight. It was something, I don't know if he just has a trigger finger or what, and it seems very much like an aggressive AD player, but man, it was really costing him a lot. And in a game where it was super winnable for BJ, like they definitely could have won this series, off of this game right here. What was your take here on game two, CLT?
I echo a lot of what you said. Jello on this Ezreal definitely looked like he was, for lack of a better words, like limit testing quite a bit. Would E in, probably thinking he had enough damage to get somebody and didn't. I was just kind of curious, draft wise, why we seen him perform so well on the Corki in game one and have the same, I would argue, similar mobility to Ezreal, but just more upfront damage and burst. Why they went to the Ezreal in game two compared to, Corki was already left up. So it
Yeah,
was it was interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I know some players, and um, I'm safe to say this. I know I won't say no names, but there's a player specifically in this series might play for the other team. I'm not gonna say names, but I know him well. Great guy. But he kind of, I think he does the same thing. Like sometimes he just pops up on a champ. He just wants to play something different. I don't know if he gets bored, or if he's just like, I just want to play something different to show it off or what. But and it could be a situation where the angle for the champion still looks good, and he'll just play something else. And he has a tendency of almost never picking the same champion in a series. Um, that can be a good thing and a bad thing, right? Sometimes it comes back to bite you in the butt. I think for Peanut Butter and Jelly here, it did. Because I think as well as Jello played in terms of he did put out damage, he did have really nice plays. I mean, his true shot barrages were just nasty. Like, he turned so many fights by just landing it on 3 or 4 members in these team fights. It just didn't feel as impactful in terms of the consistent DPS that Corky would have given you. So it was very interesting to me that didn't come out. And I feel like if it's Corky here at the 40-ish minute mark, they probably, like, the game is over. Like, pretty much almost nothing can change that. Unless, what happens here at the end of the game still happens regardless. But I just feel like the game state's different if you have Corky here.
Yeah, I feel like Corky's also just overall a lot easier to execute in a lot of different positions. So I don't. I would argue like I think Corky might be a slightly just better Ezreal right now because the champion just does an insane amount of damage.
Yeah, 100%. He's doing really, really well in the league too. I mean, I don't have the win rate numbers off the top of my head, but he's up there. When he's picked, he generally wins. So
Yeah.
very strong. But yeah, I mean, the game ends on what is just an insane play by Marcuti, flashing in, getting the engage onto the Aurora, and then the fight from there is just kind of a slobber fest. Jello gets there late, and it's just kind of the game after that. But if it weren't for that fight, who knows what happens, or that catch, I should say, because the game was neck and neck. It was like 77k to 77k before that fight broke out. So just really, really, really crazy game from both sides here. And South Jellyfish just way to fight back after everything just seemed like it wasn't going well in those 2 games, and just finding a way to just turn it around. And I know a big thing Marcuti talked about a lot. Like, he was not having fun playing against the Mumu for a bit there on the Pike, but finally gets his whatchamacallit, what's that item called? I can't think right now. Let me go check. Hold on. Where you at, Marcuti? Edge of Night. My brain. He finally gets the Edge of Night, and now Mumu can't just free banish toss, all pop him. He got a little bit of some safety. But yeah, it was a really, really fun game 2, and it went down to the wire.
Yeah, them getting, if I remember correctly, them getting that Cloud Soul. I think they had, what, 2 or 3 Cloud Drakes, so Pike didn't have any loss of movement speed out of combat when he was charging up Q. Made Marcuti, like, so dangerous.
Yeah, Cloud there is huge. And the thing was, I mean, we ended up at 3-3 Drakes, so it could have went to anybody, and that's part of the reason why this game kind of took forever. Might have just simply been the fact that it kept stalling because nobody could secure Soul. But I will go ahead and go on to game 3. I know we are trying to get through this today. So, game 3 CLT. This one was the one that felt like, of the 3, it did not feel as close in comparison. I think this was the one where Sad Jellyfish finally put their foot down and said, we're not dropping O2. We don't, I could see like this. I mean, this is a way to look at things. Like, if you're any team, hey, I don't mind losing a series, right? But what we're not gonna do today is we're not gonna fall all the way down and just start O2 on the split. It's just not happening. We have too much competitive spirit, and we know how too important every game is, right? So Sad Jellyfish said we're not doing that today, and they came in. It was a crazy like level 1 invade to start the game, but after that, I just feel like for the most part, Sad Jellyfish kind of just took over the map. Some things to note here: the Carthage in the jungle. This was that situation where, remember, I talked about Jello, and I go, why are you picking Ezreal in game 2? Why are we picking Carthage in game 3? Like, Darkhound performed super well back-to-back games on the 2 picks he went with, right? the Amumu and the Udyr. Now the AP is nice, and don't get me wrong, Kiepo picking Zed makes sense why you want to pick some AP in the jungle, but you went Seraphine bot, so I feel like you can get away with something else in the jungle, even if it's not a high DPS AP champion. What is your kind of take on that situation?
Like I understand the need to go back and pick like an AP jungler, but I feel like if you're already going into this part of the draft where you see they keep Zed open, and I know Kipo is an insane Zed player. Like I said, we scream PB and J, I instantly ban that because I hate that champion. But if you're seeing that Zed's left open and you're gonna be one something, I instead of the Seraphine, I honestly thought the Ziggs would have been just better here because I think you just need more overall damage. If you go Ziggs instead of Seraphine, not only does it deny it from Shanti and Sad Jellyfish, their comp, but also you don't feel like you need a secondary source of AP damage with the Karthus because the Karthus is very like easy to attack when you see Sad Jellyfish's comp, but he picked Karthus in the B5, which showing everything but Ari, I'm not 100% sold you even want to play Karthus in that angle. Maybe you can speak on that more as a jungler, but I just feel like you're almost too okay to die there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really want Karthus here. I mean, I don't play it often for a reason. I think it's actually really strong, but man, like the execution of the pick, it sounds so simple. I just click R. Kind of true, but you really need your lanes to be able to be super self-efficient. Um, and that's one thing. And two, you got to be able to play safe in the early game when you're trying to farm up. And what I mean by that is, obviously you don't want to run down. Like you don't want to just go die for no reason. But two, again, part of those lanes being able to help you out and being able to take care of themselves as well as respond to any plays that might happen in your jungle. I know as the game progressed, like they were getting punished a lot. Like Karthus was not able to take his camps much, was being pushed out, and J4 is a really good pick into that early for that. So I know Haku played a lot of J4 in this series, and it certainly ended up paying dividends by the end of it.
Yeah, I also think B3 and the Zed pick, you're giving a team like said Jellyfish way too much time in the draft to pick pick stuff into it that counters it and locks it down. Like they picked Rakan Ari, but if even if you take out the Ari, if it's something like Malzahar may have not been terrible in this spot or Lissandra, stuff like that that's more CC oriented. Like Zed just doesn't get to play this game. If it wasn't for the fact that Ari got so far ahead in the early and mid game, I think there's some pop off opportunities for this Zed.
Yeah. I didn't want to ignore Salt's performance, by the way. I hadn't brought it up, obviously. But yeah, no, Salt, like, he was the MVP of this game. Like, this was his show. What an Ari performance. He almost, might have cost a little bit. He gave the Zed there a shutdown gold here around, like, the 14-minute mark. I mean, that really could have changed that complexity of that game. But it did not have the impact I thought it was going to, and he just continued to roll after that. Yeah, it was a really, really nice game here by Salt.
Yeah, this seems to be the moniker of Sad Jellyfish, where it's like at any time when they just get frustrated at them, and I'm not saying that they do, but it feels like when they're not playing up to the potential, they just take the gloves off and they're just like, we're not only gonna win this game, but we're gonna win it in such a way that sends a message.
Yeah, which was certainly very, very impressive by them. Um,
Yeah.
to respond like that, but I will say that again, PB&J, really, really good series, guys. We got you guys this week, so we took note. We saw what you did, and we're excited to play you guys. So yeah,
Ooh, that's
man,
good.
it's gonna be a series, and we see what you're capable of. Just keep bringing that same energy against everybody. Obviously against us. I mean, we want the best version of you, and I know you guys probably want the same that from us. But yeah, that's what's gonna take to obviously get out of this group and make playoffs is games and performances like you guys had here against Sad Jellyfish. But hopefully next time it's you guys completing the job. So, really, really well done by both teams, and obviously, again, congrats to Sad Jellyfish on this victory because I know it probably meant a lot considering what's happened to them in the recent series they've played. Obviously, it was against us, and then previously in Split 2 over the summer.
Yeah, that series you guys have against PB&J is going to be a banger.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But let's go ahead and get into my series then, shall we? I have some takes for sure, but did you catch any of the series yourself?
I did not. This was not a great week for me to go back and catch what I wanted to catch and do my normal notes. So I have not seen a single minute of this series.
Okay, cool. Well, this is an opportunity for me to talk about draft a little bit then. So I brought up the Vi earlier, and I think okay. Here's the thing: Vi plus Ari is good, very very good. One of the best like jungle mid duo champions you can like pair. Okay, but here's the thing: I've noted this. I don't think Vi is great in a lot of spots. I think Vi in the Sedge is fine overall. Sedge will outscale you, but who cares about that? If you're like doing your job in the early mid game, you should be, kind of popping off. They actually do a similar job in terms of like their alts, right? But the thing is, Sedge has a little better early game in terms of ganking. You can get more successful ganks off early, and Rusty came in and filled in for the Kennons here, and he did a really really good job on this Sedge in the first game. I don't think I particularly played bad here on the Vi. I just think in hindsight I would have loved to pick something different. The reason why I say that is because we knew that Minus plays Sivir, and they end up B5ing the Sivir, and my job became really hard because I only had 2 true targets to ult that mattered if Sivir had her spell shield up. And that was Milio and Yone. Sure, I could sometimes peel and ult the Camille or even the Sedge in some circumstances, but like if I want to look for a true pick, those were kind of my 2 targets. But Yone had a lot of ways to play around the map, as we will talk about more as we get in. But that was kind of my take. I didn't really like us drafting our solo lanes, both solo lanes this early. I think we should have been playing for probably an R5 top here, since we really wanted to take Ari away from Rarika. But yeah, I mean, we definitely did not play bad in the series by any means. I think what the Kennons did was really good too. It's just something if I wish I could go back and make some small changes here in draft. Sometimes people feel like, oh, the draft's whatever, like, we should have just won. But my take is always improve where you can first. And then the first step is a draft where you can improve. And compared to the previous week, it's like, we had great drafting. So there's always factors in why that can happen. These can go a little wonky, obviously. Rusty filling in threw off a little bit of that. We knew there was going to be a sub. We just didn't find out till like about the day before. So we didn't have as much time to invest into game planning around that. But again, that's not an excuse. I am only simply explaining that situation. But yeah, getting into the game, getting into the series itself, we saw, like I said, Rusty having a lot of good ganks early on, and I kind of was just throwing counter punches. I was able to get myself a first blood, not a first blood, but a second blood. I was able to get a kill top lane. Both top laners died early on there. But there was just a couple plays that kind of like stood out. I know one of them was around the grubs. We all kind of made mistakes as a team before we started the grubs. There was a 1v1 on the top side between Vic and P-Dog, where Vic gets 1v1 here. They both have ignites, but I don't think Vic was expecting maybe the burst. I'm not really sure. I couldn't say. I did come up there in response, and we ended up trading 1-for-1. But I feel like it could have gone a lot better if we, are a little more patient. So that was one little thing, and then that led into just like a trickle of plays where that happened, and then we made a mistake mid, and then I made a mistake at grub. So we all just kind of ran it down together collectively, and it was like it looks kind of small, but it ended up ballooning a bit from just that one little situation, all over some grubs. But other than that, Rarika was the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Like this guy, I know him personally. I've played with him. I've seen him. He's been a part of our Discord where my team comes from. Dude's freaking really, really good. We knew that coming in. We were ready for the fight. Zema and him are two of the top mid laners. This ended up showing me that they're both just so evenly matched at the end of the day. They both have moments to shine against each other. But Rarika team fighting in this specific game was just insane. Where he just we went too far for a couple engages, and he just turned around and said, "Here you go. Here's a Yone R to your guys' entire team's face," and we get like 3 or 4 of us, and one of the Yone R's around like the red buff. It just yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So, but yeah, we had opportunities. We were able to get a Baron. I had a really nice Baron steal. Maybe we could have utilized that better. I'm not really sure. Looking back, I haven't fully watched the entire series back yet. But yeah, that's my take. What's your opinion on the draft and what you kind of see here, CLT?
So, looking at just the team comps in the draft, I would probably agree that picking Vi super early is not the greatest in the world. Like it is a touch inty. So I think she's one of those like B5 R5 picks where it makes sense to pick her. But I think when you guys showed double solo lanes plus Vi early, it made it to where Load the Cannons could create a comp that like Vi just doesn't want to play into. I know there's a bunch of really hard, slippery targets to get a hold of. Like I like Vi into Yone and even into Sivir if you're really, really good at smiting down the spell shield. Like you ult Sivir, and when she does a spell shield, you just smite it. But that's still very situational. Even if you catch Yone, if he takes the E back during your ult, you lock him up back to where he was. So it was interesting, but I also think like Vi ult plus Ambessa ult, they kind of do the same thing and serve the same purpose. So
I will
it,
say it was actually pretty good them together. Like our lockdown was really, really nice. We were really just a pick comp. And I think that was something we probably just didn't play enough around properly. We were just the comp that like gets 1 or 2 kills and then turns for whatever our objective is, a turret, a Baron, a Drake, and it forces them to walk into us and basically like walk on vision or something and run it down. So we just didn't play that well enough around that. I think if we played, and this is all due respect to everybody here, but I really do feel that if we played again, it could be certainly a flopped score. Basically, like I do think we're pretty much evenly matched on how the games went. So I think it really could have gone either way. But yeah, I mean, all hats off to Load the Cannons. They played really, really excellent. And a big thing here too, the last thing I should note on this game was Minus played absolutely out of his mind. He finished with like 65k damage on the Sivir. And the thing is, Sivir is just really, really strong right now. And I think some teams have taken notice and some haven't. But it's a really, really good pick. Sure, you can shut it down, but you have to have that shutdown, and I don't think we had it in this game. So, and that's why you kind of saw the result that you did.
Yeah, I'm glimpsing at some of the game right now, and yeah, it looks like even if you guys get onto Sivir, it's gonna be hard to like burst her through Milio. So,
Yeah, and the thing
but yeah,
was,
Sivir super strong.
when I'm looking back, like the biggest thing, if you go to around 58-45, you'll see the fight I'm talking about where Yone just turns it. If we just stop chasing there, like we won the fight. We're down a bit of gold and we won the fight. Like that was exactly what we needed. We're gonna get the Infernal Drake. We're gonna be 2 Drakes and 2 Drakes. Like it was moments like that, and it really cost us what could have been, I think, at that point, game changing, and turned the point for us to put the game in our favor. So, but you live, you learn. That was game 1. Let's go ahead and go on to game 2. What's up?
Oh, that was a massive ult by Rurika.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. I
oh,
was Yeah, yeah, and then you saw Sivir there just like pop the barrier and just not die and just do all that damage afterwards too. So
Yeah, well, I think so he ults and then Sivert Q, and I assume some of the ricochets just get grouped up right there. So yeah, that was a pretty nasty turnaround.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so now when we go into the next game, I think that was the one where I feel like we probably should have won more than anything, and we really just made some key errors where we got the draft that we wanted for the most part. The only thing is I don't think we should be picking Ambessa there as our B5, I think it was. Um, just because Renekton was still on the table, but we just really wanted it at that point. We just said, screw it, let's just play it because we had um, AP on our mid. We had not really AP jungler, but obviously like not really an AD jungler either. He's a tank, but he does majority AP damage. And then you had the Amumu and Kaisa, which Kaisa obviously can just build straight up AD, but she does generally like definitely like more of a hybrid build if she can. So you're kind of pinching yourself. You really need an AD champion in the top lane now. I think we just could have picked something safer there. Maybe even us take the Renekton, but hindsight's 2020, and I think it was just like, okay, we need this, so let's just play this, right? And it's something Vic really feels comfortable on. He's had a lot of success at solo queue with it, so and I don't think he played bad in game one with it. I think he had a lot of good moments on the pick. So, you kind of give your players what they want, your teammates what they want, and just trust in them. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can't help them, sometimes you can. Uh, but yeah, that's the only problem I have with the draft. But even then, like I think we were playing through it pretty well. But Renekton did get very big. It became very hard for us to kill. So that was a bit of a problem.
So I'm looking at this right now, and just looking at the draft. I haven't seen a minute of gameplay yet. Looking at the draft, I actually think Zenma and Vic should lane swapped because I think Mbessa absolutely gets on top of Victor with no resistance, even if Victor like brings out the Void lanes and the Maleficent Vision. Like Mbessa just tanks through that. She kills the Voidlings as she's getting to Victor. Like it's actually a pretty good matchup for Mbessa in the mid side, and then Zenma just pokes down this Renekton up top side.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess we definitely didn't consider that one for sure. But but
So I
yeah,
think out of all the top laners in this league, if they're letting Mbessa go and picked against it, the only consistent reaction I've seen is Renekton. So I don't know if it's an actual counter matchup or if it's just a skill.
no, it's counter.
Just
It's
it is
probably her worst counter right now by
okay.
far. Yeah. And we knew that, and we still kind of messed it up. That's why we banned it in game one. But it happens. That's why I said like
Yeah.
you just got to take the good with the bad and learn from your mistakes. And that's what this game was really about, learning from our mistakes. But yeah, all hats off to Lothar Cannons here, because the other thing was Zema was popping off here in game one. Like he was really really strong. Um, I mean, I was honestly feel like I was having a pretty good game too. I think at one point I was like 0-0-11 on the Skarner pick, so I was certainly having a good game too. But when Renekton started getting with us in these team fights, it just became really hard for us to play the game.
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of just skipping through this. Yeah, it looks like I mean I see a point where Zema was 5-0, but I think it's really hard for him to lock down and make sure he gets a big enough ult that it's worth it. Because you're into Ezreal, Malzahar shield. You can't really poke off the Malzahar shield that much unless Mono lands Kaisa W onto him. So I'm just Marika's picked a boatload of just really different champions that I wouldn't expect a guy like of his play style to play. Like he's
Yeah,
super aggressive, and you're seeing stuff like Malzahar. You're like, what the? It just doesn't strike me as his kind of champion, but I know he can play anything.
Yeah, I guess the idea. I think someone brought it up earlier that Miles is supposed to be good into Aurora, but like Zema didn't have a problem with the pick in the mid lane either. Here, I think he was fine into the Miles. So it just, like I said, it was more we made some mistakes in very important moments, even when we had the lead, and we also, like I said, I don't think top lane we should be picking Mbessa there if we know that Renekton's on the table. So it's a lesson learned, and we will get better with our drafting, as we have shown we know how to. Well, I mean, I said when I say better, we'll continue to have good drafts. Is what I should say because we know how to draft. Just sometimes you make mistakes, even when you know how to draft, and this was that day. So we will make draft more clean moving forward, and I'm very excited for like I said, our series against PB&J because I know it will be a tough, hard fought, fun series. So. Um, let's go ahead and we'll get to Group A, and we'll start this off with Coin Flip versus Scorch. What is your take on this one, CLT, or did you not catch any of it?
I caught a small glimpse of this. I think when I poked into game one a little bit, Brandino was already like super far ahead. So, and I think just having played against Brandino, I think week one we played against him. He's a very underrated top laner. Like he might not do the flashiest stuff, but sometimes he just gets these fighter and mechanical picks that he's super confident on. He might not pick something like Fiora on you, but his Camille, his Irelia, like these are some really strong picks in this guy's hands. He really knows how to get the most out of these champions.
Yeah, yeah, no, and Camille, by the way, like I don't think Camille's lost this split, and she finally got picked more this week. So yeah, champions high presence rate and continues to just win games. So if you don't play it, you might want to pick it up. And again, it's picked here into an Mbessa. So we saw that in my series we just went over right in game one, and we saw that the Camille was able to have some success into the Mbessa as well. So I'm assuming that that's another pick that obviously must be decent into the pick, just because it's having success into the Mbessa. I do think there's some patterns where the Mbessa can win into the Camille, but it's probably more skill expressive right now than anything. So, but yeah, I see Brandino gets a solo kill here early on onto Ares, gets the level advantage, and that's something not really respected here by Ares, and then that's why he ends up dying. So, and I'm sure then Camille kind of just took off with the game because finished with a 9-0 and 5 score line. It's pretty disgusting, and by far the best player on that team for this game. Pretty much said, "Get on my back, everybody else."
Yeah, I see Camille right now looks like pushing Mbessa back. I think the whole thing is Camille is able to bring Ignite to where Mbessa in this matchup may have to bring Flash. I don't
Well,
know.
I know
It's true.
Vic brought the Ignite TP against Ignite TP of the Camille, so I don't know if it's necessary for sure, but anytime you see that, you got to notice that, right? And then you have to play around that, right? And it's hard. It's hard. But I know the idea as a top laner in that situation is, hey, and I'm not saying Ares doesn't know this. He probably knows this. But for people that don't know this, it's I have Flash, you have Ignite, so here's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna try to get you to scuffle with me early, burn your Ignite, and then I'm gonna run away and I'm gonna reset TP back. And now I have the sum advantage. That's kind of the goal, but and maybe that's what Ares was trying to do, but I think he was trying not to burn his Flash. I think he wanted to keep that Flash, but maybe they just burn it because I mean, Flash for Ignite. I mean, it's not that best because I think Ignite will be up sooner. But I think then you're fine in the lane for a bit, and so you're cool with it. And I think Mbessa's trade patterns into Camille is still pretty good. Like I said, I think she can still kind of knock the Camille around a bit. She can dash around the E, so there's a lot of outplay potential for Mbessa.
Yeah, I just I don't like Mbessa seems to have these games where she pops off, and then there just seems to have these games where she, it looks like the players that know how to play against her can definitely shut down what that champion wants to do. I'm looking at the team comp overall by Scorch. Like, if I would have loved to seen like more of an enchanter maybe coming out of Calico
Hmm.
to see like if Mbessa didn't lose his heart in lane, what Mbessa would have looked like with like an enchanter behind it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think the enchanter also pairs with Caitlyn quite well. Knowing that there's a Camille showing, because where was Camille picked? Go back here. Like Camille was B5, and Scorch actually answered with the Mbessa R5. So
Yeah.
maybe Brandino just knows that matchup a little bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, Mbessa, guys, like, she's still pretty new. I mean, it's what, a month into her being released. So even the good players that know how to play are still learning things. I mean, you learn some matchups, and Camille's probably a pretty standard one at this point, but I mean, there's still stuff to learn about the matchup, even if you've played it 10 times. You know, sometimes you need to play the matchup 30 times before you really start to master that specific matchup. So there's definitely something to be said about it. And yeah, I'm definitely curious with that with you too about the Enchanter here. I know Lux Kate is really strong bot lane together, but I mean, Ezreal does have the ability to kind of play pretty safe, I would say. And he got a Lulu to back him up. You know, Geo Pro on a more standard pick here, and doesn't really have to do too much, and that's always nice, right? But Lulu is a really good champion and can buff up the rest of the team. But it really, at the end of the day, was really just the Brandino show. So, um, and
Yeah.
we are seeing so far in this league, like, just some of these games is just really just one player popping off, and not saying the rest of the team is not doing their job, but I'm noticing that a lot this split so far. Now, like, team play is somewhat not as important at the moment. It's just one player. I'm gonna pop off, get on my back. Let's go. I'll win this game. So as the weeks progress, I assume that will get a lot different because some of these players who are having pop off performances will not be getting certain champions, as well as the team coordination just is cleaner, so you don't have opportunities to have high score games like this. Because a 9 kill game in a competitive game is a lot. And we've seen some 16, 15, 14 kill games too. You don't see that a lot. This just might be the early on coordination from some of these teams. But yeah, so we can go ahead and get into game 2 here for Scorch. Yeah, so we see it again. GeoPro pulls it out for a second game in a row, and that's the Elise, or not in a row, but second game in the league, and that's the Elise support. I know we talked about that a little with Calico last week when he played it in the series he subbed for. And I don't know if they just weren't expecting it, but it came out, and it looks like it did pretty good. Well, I mean, 2-3-7, pretty respectable scoreline from the Elise. This game was a little longer than the first one, so Scorch definitely put up a bit of a more fight. 28 minutes. What's your take on this draft and this game here?
I mean, I like Scorch's draft overall. Like they have decent lockdown, decent CC for the Aurelia when she dives in, or even the Elise if she ends up making the wrong move. Because you got stuff like Polymorph followed up by a Mumu ult, stuff like that. And that coupled with the ball delivery system, I actually thought like this was a really solid draft by Scorch. I kind of want to go back and rewatch this whole game and see what uh, what came of it. But it looks like it's just a really well fought game. 19 to 10 kills is decent fight back and forth. But I see Ares for Scorch did a lot of damage here. So
Well, I can tell you, I just watched the clip. He started off with a 1v2 kill onto Aurelia, so that'll help. Brandino apparently is the Aurelia player, huh? Because second time I've seen him pick it. He must really
yeah,
like
tell me about it.
this. Nobody really plays this. I don't think it's particularly because Aurelia is good or bad, though I don't think she's great. But Probably because most of the players in this league aren't as proficient on the champion, and to make her really, really good, you have to be. I'm not saying it's not a knock to any top player, by the way. I'm not saying y'all can't play it, but I'm just saying like she's definitely got a high skill ceiling, and she's not worth picking up and playing in a competitive atmosphere if you just can't absolutely like dumpster on the pick, or at least perform very highly, because she does have um, a lot of things that can shut her down. And Malphite, for that matter, is kind of one of them, right? He wants to stack armor, and he wants to make it so Aurelia's life is miserable.
Yeah, I've played the Malphite side of this matchup. Even actually, low key when Irelia was a really good mid, I picked Malphite into her. So there's not much Irelia can do, but if Irelia gets like jungle assistance and pops off, and the player has enough reps on the champion, then she can be dangerous. But honestly, for what she can do, I feel like just Jax does everything better with a much easier like window of execution. So
Yeah,
I think that's why a lot of top laners just don't pick Aurelia.
and that's another thing too. I'm glad you bring that up. I'd like to note like a lot of times these games are coming down to just who has the slightly easier to execute comp, and I think that the reason why that is this split so far has shown us we have. We talked about last split. We thought last split was the most competitive split we've ever seen. So far, this split has been very competitive, and this might become the most competitive split we've ever had because all the players are so even everywhere. It doesn't feel like there's too much of a big gap in any spot. And so if you're picking a harder to execute comp, and you're going against players that are equal to you, usually the easier comp will win. And sometimes it doesn't, but usually it will. So you're picking Aurelia. Um, that's kind of what's going to happen. Where it's like, this pick is harder to execute, but I can just pick Jax. It's easier. That's going to win me the game. In this circumstance, the Aurelia won, but there's also more reasons to why that is the case. It's not just simply because Aurelia is just this or that or whatever. It's just there's a whole team game too. So, but yeah, very interesting to talk about in that aspect. As far as the ball delivery system, the one thing I'd like to note, I don't think Malphite, Amumu, and Orianna need to all be here. The reason why I say that is because you're talking triple AP, even though the Rock is going to build mostly armor this game. That's one thing. So you're letting Skarner itemize and Aurelia itemize really, really well into you. Aurelia can get like a Wit's End and a Hex Drinker and pretty much be unkillable. Skarner can get Hollow Radiance, and he only really needs one armor item for probably a good chunk of that game. Like he can get a Dead Man's or whatever, and then build some more MR for a bit. If he wants to build a Recurrent, he can, right? And so you just can't touch him now. He's not gonna die, and you just have to hope that Jinx scales up and basically can kill the Skarner and or the Aurelia. So that was something I also wanted to note. But as far as the delivery system, yeah, it's really nice. I think the comp that they drafted, like you said, was exactly what you'd want to see if you're Scorch. Like it's a perfectly simple comp. Victor and Ezreal and even the Elise, they're not safe, right? If Malphite pulls the trigger and finds them, or on a ball, you're gone. Same with Amumu. So I'm kind of scrolling through, kind of trying to see where the game breaks here, because there is like about a 5K gold lead for coin flip, but a lot of that I think has to do with turrets on the map and Drakes from the gold from Drakes here. But other than that, like the kills were pretty much even majority of the game. So I'm seeing a fight. It's around the 24-minute mark. Where again the gold lead it's 5K, but like when you have a comp like this with the ball delivery, it's like, all right, we're cool. One good fight, Jinx pop off, we can win still. But yeah, it looks like Malphite gets caught out here. They're forced to burn everything onto him. They do have a really nice Amumu ultimate, but that's pretty much all they get. Jinx does start to pop off, but the fight's pretty much over by then. Victor's got really nice ulti. Expanded, I think it expands 3 times. So, yeah, that's pretty much where it was like the game breaking moments. for Scorch. So, but well fought series by both teams. But Coin Flip is asserting themselves as one of the top tier teams here. So
Yeah, they've had an impressive showing these first couple weeks here. I'm excited to see what they can do, especially against in the playoffs when there's teams from other divisions.
yeah, but there's still a powerhouse yet for them to play, and that's gonna be TK Gamers. So why don't we talk the TK Gamers versus Insane Banana Posse series?
Oh, this was fun.
Yeah, this is another one up there, man. Another really good series. We had look, I'm not gonna say any series is bad, but it's always nice to see series going to 3 games because those always tend to be like really good. You have really great games, and another really good series here. So, I'll let you kind of lead us off with game one.
Well, I mean, as you've been a part of this league for a while and definitely seen last split, Insane Banana pulled out the strategy that they're known for, and this Smite Yumi funnel jungle strat in game one, where War Initiate takes the support. He goes bot lane with Crackler. Threshold Day picks this Yumi that goes mid lane and gets 5 CS in the first 5 waves. Gets a comfortable like lead on levels and then just becomes Flame Dog's backpack as he hopped around the map and tried to get a bunch of kills onto TK Gamers. So he had a couple of nice kills, nice roams up top. Overall, I think TK Gamers probably knew about this little strategy and was a lot more prepared for it because Victor still does an insane amount of damage. CC, Poke Archer went Red Cane even though he built primarily damage. And then CC Star was not only tanky as all hell, but had just enough CC for this Talon. And also note 4 red trinkets for sweepers on TK Gamers. When Talon came in, there was one point where I think all like 3 out of 4 were popped just to watch where this Talon went while he was invisible during the ult.
Can we just talk about how hilarious this entire giraffe thing was from both teams? If you really
I
think
know.
about it, because like,
Yep.
and let me explain the hilarious on the other side here. It's not because of their picks; it's because of what they were doing. So first off, I know that the strat with Flame Dog is Kane, right? Normally, it's not Talon. So
Correct.
so I don't know where Yumi was picked. I could go back and look, but the
Yumi
thing.
was B1.
Okay, so the moment they see the Yumi, they're
They picked the Kane.
they're just picking the Cane. All right, so
Yep.
they're like I don't know if Poke even plays this champion. I mean, it seemed like he had a fine game, but like so we're just like okay, we're taking this away. We're not giving them their strat. So then they go to their secondary thing was like, oh wait, we'll just play Talon instead. And then like the other aspect of it is this easily could have just been a Talon mid, and you could have sent Yumi bot still, and then pick Jin Zhao jungle. No. Jin Zhao top lane. Jin Zhao
Yeah.
top lane. And then the other thing is they're taking more initiates Nautilus away. So that's I mean not
Yeah.
like Nautilus is still good here regardless, but that's another thing. So they relentless is like yo, we're just gonna completely stop what this team wants to do and just take things away while they draft the most interesting comp of all time.
Yeah.
Funny draft from both teams. Almost like both teams are acknowledging each other in the slightest ways, like respect and fun of it all. But yeah, very classic. And I will say something I was impressed by, Insane Banana Posse again showing up and showing out. I think they did pretty well against last split against Boomer Squad if I remember correctly, because they just missed playoffs and. It might be shaping up to be like that again for them. It honestly might happen. So hopefully they can figure it out. But they've had 2 really close series against Scorch now, and then now against uh, Tom Kent's Gamers. So gonna find out. But yeah, very interesting strat game one. Um, I wish I would have watched the this series now.
Yeah. This game one was something up until it wasn't. Cause like Flame Dog, I I like watching this guy jungle. This guy, he's everywhere. He does everything. Fights at a moment's notice, and if the situation is on the other side of the map, he's immediately invading you, taking resources. Like every second this guy's on the map, he's doing something to get himself ahead and get resources in his pocket. I mean, he
Yeah,
had 253 CS in a 25-minute game as a jungler.
yeah.
Every time Xin Zhao got ganked up top, he immediately invaded the bot side of the jungle and vice versa. Like, I love watching Flame Dog.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the more hyperactive junglers in the league, and he's made a name for himself for sure. The thing he has to do now is start winning some games so he can showcase his abilities further beyond the regular season. So this is not me calling you out, guys. This is more me like saying, come on, figure it out because I'd love to see you guys in playoffs. You guys are a fun team to watch. So and I think you guys are more than capable. But unfortunately, this game one did not end up going their way, as TK Gamers did pull it off. Was there anything particular that was the reason this game broke, or at least why they lost?
Um, I think the rest of the team for Insane Banana got behind. Like Flame Dog was the only real threatening member, and when you have 4 red trinkets and a boatload of CC from Nautilus, Kane, and Maokai, like Flame Dog would go in and try to burst somebody down. There would be a locket, or in Ezreal's case, he later in the game built some armor. Standby built Seraphs on Victor. Like there, he just slowly ran out of targets to assassinate and get out.
Yeah, and the Chemtech soul was pretty big here too, because Talon, he's about bursting, so it's pretty hard to burst when you get the Chemtech Drake there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see how that would be a problem, and Drake's not being able to contest those early for whatever reason, or maybe just losing a fight at them, really impacted this game. What could have been honestly, uh, a much more fun ending probably if Soul wasn't taken so early. So can't speak sometimes, man.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, why don't you tell me about game two here? Because this one was Insane Banana Posse having their game here, and an Embessa Jungle once again, but this time Flame Dog finally got his win on the Embessa Jungle.
Yeah. This kind of started off a touch rough for Insane Bananas, and easily had the look of like TK could just easily start to run this game over. But Insane Bananas did really well of like punching back. I really like War Initiate's build this time around. I know the first week where he played Nautilus twice, he tried to go for more of like an AP bruiser with Roa and that route. This time he just went straight tank.
Yeah,
And I think he was more of that brick wall where he challenged TK lineup to try and break through him. There was a lot of chances where they would burn so many cooldowns and taking down War, but then they had no cooldowns for the rest of the impending fight. So then Flame Dog found ways of getting in there. Threshold Day had a really insane turnaround. He had like a 4-man Seraphine ult and like the bottom Tribrush fight. I actually highlighted that on the channel. That turned around a really big fight, and I think Jinx got like 2 or 3 kills off that. But it was a really impressive game by Insane Bananas. I don't want to say like they're the like gimmick team. I think is too harsh. Like they're definitely not that. They've got some talented players, but it felt like sometimes they win through a lot of this cooking and just alternative strats. So the fact that they took a game off of TK Gamers in a standard game, they picked their draft, the champions that they play, was quite impressive. But yeah, Crackler had a really good game once he got into the mid game, and the TK Gamers lineup could not get to Jinx, so they had to go through so much shit to get to her that they couldn't.
I would also like to note Nautilus here mid actually for the first time in my humble opinion of the Nautilus mid war initiate. If you watch this, actually it looks good here. Like I don't think last week when you played it, it was really good angles. I would have loved you to pull something else out, even though I know this is your like one trick. It's just due to the fact that like here, you're into a melee matchup. Number one. Number two. Nautilus is with what I would have been seen before. Actually, pretty good into Silas. I've seen it in the solo lane matchup before, and it seems like it's actually pretty good regardless. So I like it there. I'm a fan of it there. Now I don't know if CC Star who is normally the mid lane, by the way. I mean top lane. I don't know if CC Star
Oh
picked
yeah, they
that.
lane swapped this game.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at that. I'm like, wait a second, wait a second. I don't know if he normally or if he picked that like to counter the knot or not, but um, yeah, it's very interesting. So also a Riven pick again. But I'm just still not liking Riven as a champion. I think it's fine to Mordekaiser, but I just it. We were talking about Aurelia. Riven feels the same way to me. Like if you could choose a champion that wants to do a Riven's job, like I don't know, just pick Camille. You know. It just
Or Aatrox or Mbessa.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think Standby played the Riven well. I mean, he did get a solo kill early
Yeah.
on here. Um, but yeah, I mean, looking at the comps, yeah, I mean the comps are vastly different. One comp definitely wants to just scale up and be happy with their Jinx, Seraphine playing the game up in front of three beefy either tanks and or bruisers, whereas this other comp like kind of wants to play more of a pick split push style, and I don't think that what they drafted really all works together. You know, like
Mhm.
Silas certainly can play that like team fighty game, um, but you know he also likes the side lane. But then you look at Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is all about picks, and yet the 80 carry is all about team fighting. It's not that Blitzcrank doesn't work here, but what is setting up the dragon to be safe in this game? You know, I guess
Yeah.
Poppy maybe, and that's basically it. Maybe Poppy, but realistically, they're not stopping them from getting on top of dragon. Like, and Bessa might be stopped by Poppy, but the alt isn't. I'm pretty sure the alt is not. It's unstoppable, right?
Correct.
So if he hits that onto Bori, Bori's dead. Then there's Nautilus R. You can't stop the Nautilus R. What do? Maybe you can send them away with your alt. I think it's called Last Judgment for Poppy. I think right, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can send them away with that. But again, like okay, if you're lucky, you can get like three people with it. You know, so there's so much. And when I say luck, I'm just saying like it's not easy to land. I'm sure if Poke Archer was here with us right now, he'd say that. Like, I'm a pretty good Poppy player, and I usually send one, maybe two people away in a fight. It's very rare you get multiple members that you really want gone out of a fight when you're like trying to get a pick or trying to win a team fight. So yeah, it's very interesting. Um, I think if you just take the Blitzcrank out of there, their comp looks a little better. I will say. I think the Riven's fine if you want that split push top lane, but yeah, that's just kind of my take on drafts from Tom Kench gamers. So I almost want to say they got a little too cute here. Maybe that's my breakdown of this draft for them. They got too cute and they kind of got punished for it against a team that is not a slouch by any means. So
Yeah, the draft does look a touch of disrespect in there.
yeah,
But I mean TK played it well. It was just at the end of the day there was so much beef and just hankiness in front of this Jinx, and Smolder can't really cut through it as quickly.
yeah. There's definitely like windows and things to look at sometimes
Mhm.
when you're trying to draft a comp and like I talked about with our game, our series, game one. Like it's not that the drafts are so bad that you can't win the game, but you want to always remember like you want to make the win cons make sense. If you win on a funky comp, that's cool, and you can always look back and go, all right, we're gonna make a team respect a certain champ, like the Blitzcrank here. I think Relentless is playing fine on the Blitz from what I'm seeing, and I know he's a pretty good support. Okay, we win on the pick. He pops off. Like maybe they'll ban Blitz now. It's not something we're gonna pick 24/7, right? But like if you just pick something else here and hold the Blitzcrank pick for a game where it makes more sense, and that's just how I look at it. So it's a lesson learned because at the end of the day they did win the series, but yeah, just something to note. I feel like a coach right now. I feel like I'm coaching everybody. Sometimes I'm like, they're gonna all just laugh at me. Like, Jake, you have no idea what you're talking about, but yeah. Anyways, let's go on to game three, because CLT is not talking negatively about my take, so I think maybe what I'm saying is correct.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of the sentiments on game two.
All right, so What happened here in Game 3, CLT? The last of our three
Uh,
games.
well, while this champion is super annoying and I absolutely hate it as a mage player, this was an amazing spot to pick Kassadin in. This might be our only Kassadin of the split. I don't even think there was a Kassadin played last split. But when you're seeing Seraphine, Swain, Amumu, Gwen, it's hard not to just slam the Kassadin. The other interesting thing about this game was there was another lane swap that Crackler, I believe, took the yeah. So Crackler took the Swain bot lane and Threshold Day took the Seraphine mid, which I wasn't a big fan of. I know Swain is not known as a lane bully, but it's actually one of the few lanes that Swain can bully with, especially if you go like the Airy setup and max and like take Q level 1, you can definitely exchange some autos and make Kassadin wish he would have taken second wind D shield. But instead this Kassadin took uh Dark Seal first strike and just Seraphine can't do anything. Seraphine loses lane super early into the game against Kassadin, and there's just nothing the other team comp can do. Your goal in this case was to keep Kassadin down because you don't have very much lockdown as CC to contain him.
Yeah, 100%. I like the
So
casting
I,
too. I think the only thing I would think to pick there it would be Galio, right? So, and honestly, you could probably get away with both of them in this game. There's a world where you could uh, take Galio support if you wanted to. I don't really think that's necessary, just because like what's the reasoning? But yeah, you could certainly have done it here if you wanted to, or even Galio top. Galio top and a Gwen is not bad
mhm.
to a certain point. So yeah, I mean, it was a really great draft here from the side of Tom Kench Gamers. Um, you have two late game insurances with the Castle and the Jinx. Almost no true way to have the Castle shut down except for maybe a Mumu bandage toss into Curse the Sun Mommy into another bandage toss into a Seraphine Alt and just like layering everything on this guy. And then hoping the team fight is still winnable afterwards. And then you have Aurora, Sejuani, and Lulu just to kind of set them up. So I definitely like what they did. As far as Insane Banana Posse's draft, I feel like they played a kind of a standard game, but I honestly would have rather have seen an actual AD carry here. That could have really dealt with this Cassidy for one, but for two, like um, even if you take Cassidy out of it, I just don't really like seeing four AP champions in one game, and then leaving it up to your jungle for Trundle to basically win the game. Like that's what you're saying. You're basically putting in all your hands in one basket, and that's Trundle, and he's not your champion for that. So that would be my biggest complaint from their draft. Otherwise, a lot of the picks I see why you pick Trundle and the Sedge. It makes sense, even though I've talked in Elysium about the champion not being as good in the jungle anymore. Um, a Mumu support is always fantastic for play setup. I think it's good into Lulu Jinx here, very mobile, and even Aurora. And then Swain or Seraphine, you could have either of those champions go mid, and it's fine. And then you just swap out the AD.
Like I don't think this is game changing at any point, but I think it definitely makes the game more interesting and definitely plays out longer. But the Swain mid, Swain really doesn't. He's one of the few mages that doesn't have an issue with Kassadin even into the mid game. Now I think once Kassadin gets like 3-4 items and he's level 16 and he can dive in and out of fights, it's really hard for Swain to play against him. But for the most part, like I've played that matchup quite a few times. Swain's okay with maxing Q and just pelting him with autos,
Yeah.
with area autos. So
Seeing that
I thought it was interesting.
seeing you're never probably going to see a cast in early because I'm assuming this cast in what was he R5? Or
Yes, he was
yeah.
R5.
Seeing you're probably never going to see a Cassidy early. Maybe at the best you'll see it as an R4 pick and you can counter it, maybe, or a B5 and you can counter it. Um, like I would just say if you were able to do that, you definitely just want to run some AD mid, and like Tristana really good into it. Zed really good into it. Talon completely destroys it. I think Yasuo's not bad into it either. Yone's good into it. Like all these picks, wreck it. There are a couple AP champions that are okay into it where you can kind of like punish it a bit. I thought Vlad was one of them if I remember correctly. Um, but yeah, I mean, eventually, if you're into most of the things, he still will outscale a lot of those champions I mentioned to a degree. But they just have the ability to kill him, right? If he gets caught by anything, he just dies. So if you still have the similar comp and you have that Yone with everything else in here, whether it's Seraphine or Swain bot, doesn't make a difference. It's just, you have that situation. If he gets locked up by the Amumu into a Curse of the Mommy, the Kassan's dead. Right? He's just gonna pop at that point. So, um, that's just something to note if I'm in that situation. But I assume, like you said, we're probably not gonna see a Kassan pick anytime soon again, unless Standby has just got the biggest balls of steals. Watches this segment and goes, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna pick it next week just because I can."
It, yeah, yeah. I absolutely appreciate Insane Banana Posse. I've come to know them a little bit. Talked to Crackler quite a bit during his stream, which is starting to pop off, and I've exchanged some few words and messages with War Initiate. Like, there's a good group of guys over there. I feel like they cook and they find something successful, and then they like tune into on it just a little too much, a la the Nautilus mid, the Smite Yumi like funnel strat. If you're looking at this comp and you know without a doubt that Crackler is playing this Swain, because I know he's one of the bot laners that have, I don't see why you can't pick something that War has played top lane, like a Darius, like a Garen, like something to throw a different wrinkle in the draft, like be a touch more experimental. I know War is still getting accustomed to mid lane, and he's even told me that he's trying really hard to expand the champion pool a lot. They just I think they came up with this lineup last second.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely like one thing that screams to me that should probably get banned on if he plays it is Alawi mid. Alawi mid is insane with where the tentacles set up and the buffs of them being extended. Like if you get hit by one E, you're instantly getting hit by three tentacles almost.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see if they find that within their play pattern and start to bust it out. Knowing them, he's gonna play it now against me in week 5, so we'll see.
just to mess with you. Yeah,
It's okay, I
well,
got answers.
yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I definitely like to see some different things. And War Initiate can be the Doinby of the league, man. He really can. I've made the jokes about the
Yeah.
Nautilus, but he has an opportunity, especially with the diversity in Crackler's pool, and New being looks like being willing to play different things top lane as well as far as AP and or AD goes. He has an opportunity to be that guy. Maybe just stop cooking as much on some of these things and don't outdraft yourself because in this in this game you might outdraft yourself. The Yumi one in the game one, it can throw them for a whirl if you've never done it before. But you remember you're playing this against a returning team. They've seen this before, They
Mhm.
they know, right? I promise you they know. So that's one thing. The other thing I will note is before we go on and finish up, the last series of the week, is that when you're drafting these things that they do early on in the split, if you do make playoffs, you're taking some of your wild cards out, right? You're taking some of your pocket picks or like you know surprise picks out of the equation because now teams are aware of that. They're ready for it. I'm really not trying to give anybody like assistance here because I don't, in a sense, like I'm giving them the secret sauce. But if you don't know this already, you definitely want to keep some plays in your playbook. Don't get me wrong. If you're like last week of the playoffs, you need to make it. I mean, that's basically playoffs for you. That's different. But week 2, yeah, maybe hold some of these things and just try to see where you guys are at head to head. Unless you really truly think you aren't as good as Tom Kench gamers, but I think you guys are very competitive and can absolutely beat them with normal comps as you did in game 2. So yeah, that'll be my last take on this series. But yeah, it looked like a fun series and well played by both teams. Any other thoughts before I go on to our last one?
No, no, I agree with a lot of this. We can
Awesome.
skip the last one if you want.
No, we're not going to skip it. We are going to talk about your series, buddy. That's going to be Free Brax versus Caster Curse. Free Brax getting their payback for me talking all the banana bougie boo boo about them.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
You gave him
sorry.
the bulletin board material.
Yes,
Got
I
it.
did. Remember number 18. Number 18. Um, yeah, I'm sure they took that to heart. So
Oh,
yeah,
I bet.
man. I mean, I'll let you cover a little bit of it. I know you don't want to go to do too deep dive, but at the end of the day, we got to do this for freebacks as well, right? Let's talk
Yeah,
about your
no.
series. So what was your take on the way things went in game 1?
Game 1, I thought was a very interesting game. We fought a pretty rough like early to mid game, but I ended up finding a few kills onto Ari. But their bot lane got fed as our support got caught out like quite a bit. I think he was losing track of a lot of warding situations and stuff like that to where uh there was a lot of times where he even said he's like, "What am I doing here?" So they definitely picked on Pens quite a bit here in this game 1. But I think we fought back. We traded first and second drags, but there was a big dragon fight around the 18-20 minute mark where Camille jumped in, locked me down, and Bulwark was uh still dead. Like we postured like we wanted to fight the dragon, but we weren't 100% sure if we could or not. But then they pulled the trigger like so decisively that yeah, that kind of where the game really broke open there for the most part. And then yeah, the Camille coupled with the artillery support from Hue was a pain in the ass to deal with, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I talk about that Camille. We're finally starting to see it get some action. It's really strong right now. It's always doing damage. It's always doing its job, locking someone down. The pick can certainly be shut down. I'm sure at some point we'll see it lose. I would assume because it's hard to stay with any champion to stay undefeated. The more games you get picked on it, but yeah, the pick is just really really good right now. As far as the game, like man, like you had another really really good game. I mean, the area performance was as good as would want from any player. But sometimes, like you said, I mean, things don't go your way. Um, Jungle was really struggling. I think Alves had a pretty tough game here. Um, and I think that Mumu is just a good champion in general, right? And you're picking Zinzao, so Zinzao really wants to get ahead early, and he was not able to. So the Mumu is just going to outscale and do what it wants in these team fights a lot better. Obviously, Hue, like you said, was a bit of an issue too. I know he finished with a pretty good score line. But Deeg, man, that guy popped off again on this Kaisa, but this time in a winning effort. He's a really, really good AD carry, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far. Um, and, like, he really just controlled the game with just his play. Made you guys always have to try to find him out and shut him down. And at times you were able to, but for the most part, he kind of just ran rampant on the back of his team, allowing him to do so. Uh, but yeah, I do think you guys did have an opportunity in this game to win, but as you said, like that Drake fight on the 18-minute mark really started to truly crack the game. Because the gold was still kind of even, but the map pressure after that Drake that was provided was just kind of massive. Between the Herald getting dropped mid, get some damage down. I think eventually they were able to break open tier one bot not too long afterwards. So, what was the idea with the Zach pick? I was curious about that.
So, Al feels very, very comfortable on the pick, and he's had re good success against Camille's. Even if you look at the numbers, it's a really solid answer to Camille because when she dives in, Zach just counters engages and kind of disrupts the fight a little bit. So, he had a really, really solid laning phase. I think the one thing looking back at this, I would have been interested is if he would have taken TP instead of Ignite. I don't know enough about top lane to say that for sure, but I know he's played the Zac quite a few times and enjoys playing the champion quite a bit. It's a pretty safe laner that's really hard to push back, and you can't really outpoke him because he just walks up to a wave, W's it, and picks up the blobs. So that was the theory behind the Zac. I uh I think it was he got stuck in side lanes just a little too much because of the Camille split push a little bit.
Yeah, and that was really impactful too because Honky was able to get the lead he got. He was able to just make the Zac stay, which is all about what a split pusher wants to do, right?
Yeah.
You wanna pick a tank top. I'm gonna pick a champion that you have to keep paying attention to, and now you can't group up with your team. So it was a smart draft by Freebrax here. You guys kept it close for a long time, and eventually, it broke open. But there was a good overall game by you.
Mhm.
Um, and Bulwark also kind of had some really nice moments to shine as well. But yeah, it was definitely a tough game. I feel bad like watching like Pens and Alves just kind of like trying to do things, but every time Kellen was around, man, he just was like a glue to them. Q, alt, boom, dead, and then the fight's already over before it begins. So, what was how was game two though? Like, what was your take on game two? Because I think that one was a lot closer in comparison to game one, and you guys really, I'm almost shocked you guys weren't able to pull that one off. To be honest, I thought we were gonna go to three.
Yeah, game two, we really felt comfortable going in with the draft. I think me taking the Smolder mid and Bulwark taking Play bot, like it's pretty interchangeable. I the big kind of caveat to the decision was like where could Smolder get access to stacks quicker?
Hmm.
Because in other like flex queue games, stuff like that, if we see a melee support with something like Swain or even Ziggs, like Smolder can still play the poke game into it. But Smolder's probably one of the few 80 carry style champions that I really do like. So the fact that it was interchangeable, I think, made the draft really interesting. And then when we loaded in the game, like it's Smolder against Galio, I'm going to be able to stack for free. Though Bigby did really well with the spacing in trades and stuff like that. So it was it was a lot more challenging than the matchups I've played before, Smolder v Galio. So
Yeah,
that was kind of the thought behind the draft of Smolder mid. And Hui bot still has like an insane win rate, and Bulwark plays it quite well.
yeah. I mean, this game was honestly everybody kind of had a moment to shine from your team, even in a losing effort. Um, like Owl was really struggling top, but then came in with so many clutch alties there in like the mid game to kind of turn fights on the set, and then Owl was able to follow up and make like little small picks that just were so impactful onto. I remember he caught Squirrel at least once or twice on this Milio. And then obviously you and Hawaii just staying in the game, making sure to keep scaling. And then when you guys got to the team fights, you had a Karma buffing you guys up, and you guys just kept throwing punches back at them and punches back at them. I
Mhm.
really truly believe that it was your guys' game to lose at a certain point, and sadly it happened that way. But like, man, it was close. It was really close. I mean, like I said, it was a 46-minute game. Um, what was your for you like the moment where you kind of go when looking back at it, you wish you guys just played it differently, or like the moment of the game where it obviously was the nail in the coffin.
There was a I'm trying to look at the where it was at, but there was a mid lane fight where I think we caught one of them out, might have been Melio or something, and we kept advancing into the upper river, but then Jax TP'd on the side, and it was Jax stun into Amumu Q ulting Mia Smolder, and at that point I was like, oh shit. Because I was just moving ahead with the team, it's just I didn't have my positioning wasn't the greatest. So when they picked me off in that team fight, that's definitely felt like when the momentum changed quite a bit. So it was a really solid engage overall by Hunky and then Kellen. Kellen played really solid just the whole series.
Yeah, he looked a lot more comfortable compared to the Skarner pick last week. I will say that kind of redeemed himself in his play. So um, I definitely think that was a big difference in Freebrax's game, um, and which made them look just a lot better as a team. So um, yeah, overall though, like I think it was a really hard fought series. I still again, I've said this on the show when me and you talked last time, and I'm gonna reiterate it this week too. Don't be hard on yourself. Stop it. Like I think you played
Mm.
really well, and I think your team is very competitive still, and nothing is over till it's over. That means you guys aren't out of the you're not out of the playoffs. Keep your head up, and that goes for all teams, right? If you're that team that's starting 0-2, you're that team that maybe is 1-1 but don't feel good about how the first 2 weeks have gone. Look, there's still 3 weeks left. All it takes is one or two series to change the tide of your split. Don't give up. Keep playing. Keep playing hard. And if you do end up getting eliminated, remember you can screw someone's day up, right? You can knock them out of the first seed. You can um, knock a team out of playoffs. Like there's just so much you can do. Like I just want to reiterate that, and then try to have fun with this and try to improve because I know some of these players certainly will be returning next split. So that is always something I definitely want to push for everybody because I have to remind myself that sometimes too. Not everything's going to go the way you want every week, and that's what's
Mhm.
fun about this game is that there's really great highs, really real lows, but it is a high learning learning experience of positivity and good energy. So,
Yeah,
uh,
no, I think put up a really good fight this game, so I was pretty happy overall. It was the feels bad that I was on the receiving end of the one getting caught. Actually, I just looked over that fight at like the 37-minute mark. So it showed potential. It showed a lot of good things. And yeah, excited for week 3 against Scorch. See how that goes.
yeah, and you know what? All it takes is one. So
Hmm.
go steal one off of Calico. I'm sure that'll be fun. You guys get to play each other after being able to get to know each other a little bit here last
Yeah, we'll
week.
see.
So, but yeah, I mean that's the series and that's week two's action. I guess I'll take a quick peek at the standings real quick. Um, so as far as the groups, Coin Flip and Tom Kench Gamers are on top of Group A, both sitting at 2-0. The only undefeated teams, well, there's two undefeated teams in a group right now, and then Freebrax and Scorch both at 101, hovering in that third spot, fighting for it right now. And the same Banana Posse and Caster Curse at 0-2. They're only one game behind on both Scorch and Freebrax, so either of them just picking up some wins here will turn the tide and be a battle there for fourth seed. In Group B, we got Backdoor Bandits at 2-0, and Group B is very tight. I mean, actually, um, Group B and Group C are kind of both really tight. But yeah, so 2-0 sitting for Backdoor Bandits. Load the Cannons, Sad Jellyfish, Small Brains, and Peanut Butter are all 1-1 with Ice Wall sitting at 0-2. So this group looks like it's gonna go any way. It looks like possibly one of the most competitive groups. Um, and then we have, unfortunately, I'm showing this not realizing that the series is done, but it is what it is. You guys will just have a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, so Team Ghost right now they're sitting at 2-0, and let's just imagine Instinct didn't play their series today against D&D. They would all be 1-1. It'd be Instinct, TK Ventures, Cal Poly, and Dyslexic Defenders all at 1-1. That's not what it says right now, but just imagine it. I didn't know that they would finish before we finish. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean that's also going to be a tight group. T1 Tempest sitting at 0-2, so it's going to be a really fun ending to the splits. Well, I'm saying that like it's already over, but it's only 3 weeks left. Like it's already like that. We're already getting to the end of the regular season already. So week 3 will really tell us a lot about what this league might look at like by the end of the regular season. Any take from you on how things are going and what you want to see moving forward? Like, is there any matchups you're looking forward to down the line? Um, is there anything you're looking to play? Maybe like any of that nature.
Um, Matchups. I speak to it just a touch personally. Like I said, I've gotten to know Crackler and War from Insane Bananas, and I know we play them week 5, which is when the new season patch drops. So I'm really really excited for that one. Um, but honestly, like I just love watching specifically the new teams. Instinct, Cal Poly, PB&J, like just these those 3 teams specifically, but all of these new teams that are not they're not overly respectful to legacy teams that are like intimidated. Like they have no issues going into these matches, as we've seen like PB&J versus Sad Jellyfish is like the big prime example of like everybody knows Sad Jellyfish is one of the giants of the league, and if you have aspirations of winning the league, you're going to go through them. You'll go through Small Brains, Scorch, these legacy teams that have been in the league, and these new teams just don't give a shit. They're just going to come in and they're going to throw punches with you guys and have really good, entertaining, competitive series. So I like this. I like where that's going for the rest of the regular season. I can't wait to like you guys versus PB&J in week 3. I think is going to be an absolute banger.
Yeah, and like I said, I think week 3 is going to tell a lot, and that's going to be right before, not like a 2 week break, as we stated, guys. Uh, week 4 will be 2 full weeks you're allowed to play on, so you'll have from the start of the start of the 4th week all the way until 2 weeks later. I think it's like the January 4th or 5th would be the last day to play your
That's correct.
games. So you're gonna have a long thing, but that's the last one before that break, and that means that'll be the last full week on the old patches. Because by the time we come back, then after next week, and week 4 ends, we'll be on the new entire season. So
Mhm.
it's gonna shape out interesting because I think with every team learning the new patches, new patch for week 5 and the new season for week 5, like week 5 is a wild card. So I would suggest get your wins while you can now. Pile them up while you can now because you might lose to a team you don't expect to lose to just learning week 5 and how everything's gonna work, right? So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and I'm really excited for it. Every split's it's a fun journey, and this one is nonetheless a fun one as well. So thanks again for watching the show, guys, and for everyone watching. Episodes might just be this long now. I don't know if we can tone it down, to be honest. So hopefully you just enjoy them, because we enjoy making them. So
Yep.
thanks again for coming out. Thanks again, CLT, as always, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Have a wonderful night.